did see him. Yeah, down here, but you hadn't been down a lot. Oh, you've been in there. I've probably been upstairs. Yeah. Still there.
Well, a very good morning. Welcome to Edgbaston for the first of two semi-finals. Usually the way of semi-finals is usually two. And this is the first, so they're both on the same day, of the Metrobank One Day Cup. This semi-final pits Warwickshire against Hampshire, which is a repeat of, where was it? I did make a note. 2012 final, sort of, although that was a 40-over competition then. The other semi-final is also taking place today, but it's they are staggered kick-off times, so to speak. So Leicestershire versus Gloucestershire takes place starts at 2 o'clock at Leicester, and there'll be coverage of that on BBC online as well, of course. Every ball. So this one we're on at the moment on 5 Sports Extra, and of course on BBC Online. I'm Clive Eakin. I've been rattling away. I haven't given Kevin James a chance to say hello. Hello, Kevin.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, looking forward to this one. One match away from a final, and whatever you think about this competition, I think if you're a side that's doing well in it, then of course you enjoy it.
Yes, I mean I think we've quite enjoyed all 3 years where it's clashed for the 100. Warwickshire have actually not got past the group stages in the first 2, but to be fair, they've been competitive. They've been in contention. So, you know, if you're a Somerset and kind of out of it, we started these 3 years, then it might drag a little bit. But I think we've enjoyed it at Warwickshire. I think they sensed this season this was a good opportunity to have a real crack at it. Now, the news is that Hampshire have won the toss, and they've elected to bowl first, which is a slight blow to Warwickshire, because the way Warwickshire tend to do it is stick the opposition in and try and bowl them out quickly. They won't be able to do that today, and I think the one occasion which they've been set a... Well, they have to set a target. The one occasion where they've set a target was at Neath against Glamorgan, where they did come out on top in the end, although it was a little bit of a struggle. And interesting team news, and we have checked. Our colleague Kevin Howells, who you'll hear from later, has checked the rules, such as they are. And there are no rules, really, in terms of bringing players in for the semi-final and final stages now that 100's done, apart from overseas players. So Warwickshire have brought Sam Hain in. He hasn't taken part in any of the group games because he's been playing for the Trent Rockets in the 100, but nothing's stopping Warwickshire bringing him in. They haven't got the whole hog. They haven't brought Dan Mosley or Chris Benjamin in. So as the Warwickshire batters march out to the middle, and the fielders wearing almost identical colours. I mean, it's cricket, isn't it? It's only cricket can do this, where the teams wear colours and they're almost identical. But Warwickshire then have Rob Yates, Ed Barnard, Will Rhodes, the captain. Sam Hain comes in. He replaced Alex Davis, who played in a couple of matches as he recovers from injury. Jacob Bethel, Ethan Brooks. Michael Burgess returns as wicket-keeper. He was rested for 1 game. He comes in for Kai Smith. Danny Briggs comes in from the 100 as well, though he has already played a couple of games. Jake Lintott, Henry Brooks and Ollie Hannon Dolby. And Hampshire, Kevin.
I've made one change from the side that beat Worcestershire in the quarter-final. You were saying about 2 semi-finals. Well, there's 2 quarter-finals, so that's a bit odd because there's normally 4 in quarter-finals. That one change comes in the batting department. There's no Toby Albert. I haven't spoken to the Hampshire camp this morning. I assume that he's got an ongoing problem with his hip, which has sort of made him go in and out of this competition. And Joe Weatherly is in. He got 100 in his one and only game against Surrey at Guildford. So they are Fletcher Middleton, captain Nick Gubbins, Tom Prest. Joe Weatherly will actually open. Nick Gubbins, will Joe Weatherly come through? We'll have to wait and see. Ben Brown, Nigel Donald, 200s to him in the last couple of games. Liam Dawson, Ian Holland, Keith Barker, Mason Crane and Brad Wheel.
I'll take the first over. A very familiar figure to us, bowling it.
Who is it? He used to play here. Keith Barker.
I believe so.
He's left arm over and he's bowling to left-hander Yates. Bit of swing. Yates plays that comfortably enough. Back to the bowler. And there is no run, so we are underway. I'm quite excited for this one.
Yeah.
Thought of a final at the end of the day.
Yeah, not a Lord's final these days, but a Trent Bridge final should be fun. And it happens to be on a Saturday when Coventry City aren't playing, so that's great news for me. If Warwickshire make it. Mind you, if Hampshire make it, then maybe I can come and cover it for you, Kevin.
Well, we look forward to that. All I can say is there's actually a Southern Vipers game on that day, so it does clash. So we clashes with Coventry, as that's a length ball back to the bowler. So from a Warwickshire point of view, that clashes with Coventry. From a Hampshire point of view, that clashes with a Southern Vipers game.
There you go.
So neither of us will...
Well, no, Warwickshire doesn't. That's the point I'm making. Coventry aren't playing that day. They're playing on the Friday. As Hull, actually, so I can probably make that work. So
there you go. So there's always reasons why you shouldn't play a particular game on a particular day, and we found 2 already. Says Barker, nice accurate start from him. First couple of deliveries, runs away from us. And bowls, we're in a great line. It's played nicely out to point by Rob Yates, fielded by Fletcher Middleton, and there's no run. We're fairly straight here. We're just to the left.
Great, isn't it? Right over the pitch. We'll be able to call all LBWs, Kevin, won't we?
Well, we always do anyway. We could be at mid-wicket, and we still do. Saying we're right, even when the umpire calls it the other way, good or bad. 2 slips wait, as Barker comes in again. And bowls to Yates. Bit of swing, Yates was playing at that initially, may just have pulled the bat out the way in the time. As it goes through to Ben Brown. Well, Keith Barker's having a little bit of a tough time in the Championship this year. I think the last time I looked, which won't have changed, I think it was about 18 wickets in total, although he has been left out of the side on a couple of occasions, which would have been unthinkable, both when he was here and in his first 3 or so years at Hampshire. But this is his 6th game in this year's competition. As he comes in again. Bowls to Yates, and Yates is fishing at that one. That's a nice carry and nice shape through to Ben Brown.
Yeah. Good ball. Warwickshire, as I say, have thrived on taking wickets early in this competition, including here, so they'll know they need to survive these early overs, and they've never worried too much about the power play in this form of cricket. It's about making sure you've got wickets in hand to build on later.
It's only the 3rd time they've batted first in this competition. As Barker comes in again, not so much swing, so Yates is playing that up to mid-off. Fielded by Brad Wheel. Good start. It's a maiden.
One of the previous occasions, I think I'm right in saying, was the 10-over thrash that we had against Northamptonshire on a particularly rainy day. Yeah, so a maiden bowled by Barker. Nice tidy start from him.
You enjoyed this competition this year?
I have. I've enjoyed it all 3 years, to be honest. It's been a nice mix as well. This season, probably more than ever, Warwickshire, a mix of regular senior players, along with... We haven't had quite as many young players coming through, but we've had 1 or 2 who've played, which is nice. So Holland, Ian Holland, is to bowl the first over from the Birmingham end, and first ball at Ed Barnard, who's having a particularly good competition, opening the batting and the bowling. 2 slips in place. Holland comes in to bowl, and it'll tip or attempted tip and run, but he doesn't get it past backward point.
Almost 600 runs. That's a pretty good return, isn't it?
Yes. He was, for a while, top run scorer in the country. I don't think he is anymore, but of course he has got certainly 1 and possibly 2 matches to try and get there. Where are we at the moment? Yeah, Andrew Umeed has moved ahead, but he's only 23 runs behind him. And that one has gone right through him. Bit of bounce there as well from Holland. And this is proving a tricky start for Warwickshire. They haven't lost any wickets, but 8 balls now, no runs, and a couple of alarms. Warwickshire do boast the top wicket taker in the competition, Ollie Helen Dalby, who's 7 ahead of Ian Holland. I've got to do... In comes Holland to bowl. And that's driven through the covers by Barnard. He'll get 4 runs for that. So he's on his way. 4 for Ed Barnard. It's 4 without loss.
That's a top shot there. That's not even a half volley. I think that shows that it's a pretty good wicket. But of course, also with the new ball, it comes on nicely as well. A bit harder. Skids off the surface a little more. allows those sort of shots to be played at the top of the order.
So Holland to bowl to Barnard. 2 slips in place, and Barnard lets that one go. Getting a bit of bounce, but no attempt to play at that one from Barnard.
Yeah, Ian Holland's been, he's been very steady this year's competition. Went for a few runs against Worcestershire, but other than that, he's one of those players in this competition that you can sort of rely on as a captain. Give me 5 or 6 overs at the top, keep it steady, take a wicket or 2, and that's exactly what he's been doing.
Is in again to bowl to Barnard, who drops a bat on that, pushes down to the offside again, looking to see if he can get a quick single, but not to be had. We're in the power play, of course, first 10 overs in this competition, this form of cricket. So 2 fielders allowed on the boundary, and at the moment they are at third and at a fairly wide, long leg. Everyone else inside the circle looking to save the one, with 2 slips there to take any catches that come their way. Holland bowls, and that comes into Barnard, hits him on the pads. There's a bit of a shout, not really an appeal, but more just acknowledging that, again, the bowler defeated the batter there. So 1 scoring shot in the first 2 overs. Warwickshire have survived. They are 4 without loss after 2.
Well, there's a little bit out there. Barker's getting a little bit of swing. Ian Holland's getting a little bit of seam movement, so encouragement for the 2 opening bowlers here. The opposition. Hampshire in their second semi-final in consecutive years.
Yes.
Lost out to Kent.
Set a fairly decent total as well against Kent.
Yeah. There's a certain Darren Stevens that came in and ruined the game at the end. Smash 70. Here's Barker. Bowls to Yates. Bit of swing edge. Oh, he's dropped. You cannot believe that. How was that dropped? It's straight in the hands of Tom Prest, and it's straight out again, and an easier slip catch you will not see that goes down. Well, that is disappointing.
Well, that's certainly an escape for Rob Yates, who knows all about slip catches in that position. So he feels that slip. He did put one down in one of the group matches, but that was a real rarity for him.
Here's Barker again, bowls. Yates goes straight in here. Surely somebody's going to take this. Brad Wheel at mid-off, taken. Well, Tom Prest gets a big hug from Ben Brown. What a relief, man. When you stand there and drop a catch like that, you think, well, I hope he doesn't get many. And he's out the very next ball. Lucky man, Tom Prest. Unlucky Rob Yates, 4 for 1.
Yeah, disappointing though. You get a life and then you offer up a catch at top edge. But he struggled there, Rob Yates. Got 1 century in the competition, but found it hard going, and Barker has yet to go for a run and has got his first wicket.
Well, that's... well, you see situations like that and you think, well, actually, might it be Hampshire's day? I have to say, about a minute before that dismissal, I thought, no, this is not going to be Hampshire's day. But then you see that and you think, well, just maybe.
Well, Will Rhodes is next out. Warwickshire have built on partnerships between Yates and Barnard. They have had 2 century partnerships in the competition between those 2, including 188 at Neath against Glamorgan. And so that's a useful wicket indeed for Hampshire, bringing the Warwickshire captain Will Rhodes in early.
Certainly is. Wow. That, if you were Brad Wheel underneath that one, it was almost like he had too much time with the ball just lolloping up in the air the way it did. So we've got another left-hander in for Warwickshire.
Yeah, Will Rhodes.
Yeah. Just going to keep the 2 slips in. I have to say, Hampshire's slip catching this year in all competitions has been horrendous. Here's Barker, and it's true. Outside the off stump, a little too wide on that occasion. Rhodes doesn't have to play. I'm sure there's a few in the crowd here saying that man Keith Barker has done it against us again.
Yeah, well, he was a popular player here. Warwickshire really, there's a feeling that Warwickshire made a little bit of a mess of it really in losing him, because he didn't feel wanted, even though he was apparently. Warwickshire were going to offer him a new contract, but they left it a bit too late.
Yeah. I remember you saying as Barker comes into Rhodes, that's a better line, doesn't really swing as that's pushed out square on the leg side. Joe Weatherly Fields, yeah, 2009 to 2017 here, long career.
Yeah.
Long career
And
here.
some commentators, yourself included, used to chunter about him and Jitan Patel working as a combination.
Or spinner rough.
Yeah. Did work well, though.
It did work very well. Here comes Barker, runs away from us again and bowls to Rhodes. Again, doesn't really swing. Rhodes is able to turn that away behind square on the leg side this time. There'll be at least two. Weatherly can't quite get there as the throw comes in from the far end of the ground from Ian Holland, who's down at the far end, the Birmingham end. 6-4-1 then Warwickshire, having been asked to bat first.
It is a grey, cloudy morning. No threat of rain at the moment. Harbingers of doom are telling me that there might be rain later. There's no immediate danger of it, but it is pretty grey and overcast.
There was a reserve day for this as well, isn't there? Oh, ouch. Down the leg side, and it's off the pad past a diving Ben Brown, and that should be 4 leg byes, signalled by the umpire, and that ends the over. And Warwickshire after 3 overs, 10 for 1.
So you got your overnight bag then?
Well, I've got it here, but it wasn't planned to be right in the commentary box with me. I've had a horrendous morning.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Some vehicle issues for you, dear me.
The vehicle broke down in the car park. But, so yeah, all my overnight stuff's here, whereas it should be in the car. But that car is not here. But hey. At least I've got all my gear here if I do need to book in somewhere, Clive, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right next to me.
So, Ian Holland to continue to bowl to Barnard. Just hit that 1-4, but didn't find that first over easy. And this one just comes off an inside edge. He's going to get a run to backward point, but off a somewhat false shot. And that is 11 for 1.
It looks a good wicket actually, Clive, doesn't it? Really, once this hardness of this ball goes, there's not much grass on it. It looks as though it could be made for a few runs here.
Well, it hasn't been that high scoring the ground generally.
No.
In comes Holland, right arm over. And that's left by Rose. The feeling is that Warwickshire have tended not to score big in this competition. That might be a little unfair on them. As I say, they scored fairly big, batting first at Neath. And it proved in the end to be enough, though there were quite long periods of the Glamorgan innings when it looked like it wouldn't be. It was in the end. They did also bat big in the 10 over slog, I must say. They got over 100 in that, which proved to be easily enough. Late decision from Rose to leave that one just outside off stump.
That's a good delivery. Good leave. We'll just nip back. We haven't seen one of those to the left-hander yet. Will Rhodes just under 300 runs at 57. All these top order players. I suppose when you get to teams to this stage of the competition, they're all scoring runs, aren't they? 57 average.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I think it's got sort of harder almost as the group stages have gone on for Warwickshire. They're playing in slightly more competitive matches. That one's left by Rose, but they have got a good record in it. They 7 wins and just a 1 defeat, and that was by 1 run, albeit they should have lost one of the games that they won. But of course, winning 7 group games, as you know, Kevin, does not guarantee a semi-final win.
No, it doesn't. 7 wins out of 8 last year guaranteed us top spot, but not this year.
Next one was going down the leg side. That will be a wide if it missed everything, which it did. It is a very good take by wicketkeeper Brown, which prevented it from being 5 wides potentially.
Yeah, it's a little unlucky, isn't it? 3 sides this year in the 2 groups finished with 7 wins from 8 games. Poor old Hampshire were the ones that finished second in the group.
Poor old Hampshire, yeah.
Poor old Hampshire.
Poor old Hampshire. Other semi-final to come later, and that will be live on BBC Online. Leicestershire, Gloucestershire. That one starts at 2. That one's left by Rose, and there's no rum.
Yeah, that promises to be a good game. I have to say, Leicestershire, very, very good batting side this year. That's what's got them top of our particular group. Strong side. Gloucestershire looked a strong side in your group, actually.
They did. Warwickshire actually beat them pretty handsomely, but they did. Worcestershire as well.
Yeah.
Rose slashes at that one outside off stump. He's down on one knee. That was a rather ugly attempt at a shot. So, strange old over. There was a wide in it, but only 2 runs in total. And Warwickshire have made a cautious start. I have lost a wicket there. 12 for 1 after 4.
Yeah, there's a little bit of movement out there. Interesting move from Hampshire to win the toss and bowl. Sometimes you can hand the initiative to the opposition when you do that, but I think you mentioned earlier, Clive, there is a threat of rain later this afternoon. That may have influenced Captain Nick Gubbins' decision. Paul Williams has tweeted already this morning at Solent Sport. I know there's several ways you can get hold of Clive, he'll mention that. Paul says, so we have the semi-final of a fantastic tournament of the game that England are world champions of, and he says, no TV coverage. Well, there is. It's on the Warwickshire cricket website, which is going back to the Hampshire cricket website and app, so there is a bit of TV coverage, but I know what you mean. Less than 2 days' notice. Well, it was for Hampshire. Here's Barker round the wicket to Barnard, gets a length ball, pushes it out behind square, fielded by Weatherly, and see a crowd that is tiny for what should be a great event. Nobody can tell me that the 100 was meant to do this. Well, it's just one of those things.
Everything is relative. When you say tiny, it's not the sort of crowds you'd have got in a semi-final of the 50 over competition a few years back. But actually, it's not bad. This competition has been supported rather better than I expected. And it's not a terrible crowd here.
No, it's not. No, I agree. Barker bowl's a bit fuller this time. Barnard's punch driving that through extra cover, and I think that's going to beat Mason Crane at mid-off, and it has. That's a lovely piece of timing. Barnard moves on to 9, 16 for 1.
I mean, Warwickshire, to their credit, tried hard. They it's free for members, and the non-members admission was £10, with under-16s free. They did the same in the T20 quarter-final. Again, same problem, very little time to sell the game. So they did pitch the prices competitively. And, it's not full by any means, but it's populated.
Yeah, there's a few grounds. If you put this there, it would look all right, wouldn't it? Oh, let's come back. Good leave. Good carry through to Brown. But, if you were to plonk this crowd in, say, the Isle of Wight or York or...
Well, even New Road would look all right.
It would, yeah. It's all right. Holly Stand is a bit sparse, but it's, there's still a few there dotted around. A few at the far end of the ground. Quite a few, actually. And obviously a few in the pavilion, which we can't quite see. But it's all right. Cloudy. As Barker comes in round the wicket again to Barnard. Slightly slower ball. Barnard pushes that out quietly to mid-off. Initially wanted a single, but a little too close to Barker for that one. We're in the 5th over here. 16 for 1. Rhodes is 2. Barnard's 9. The one wicket that has fallen. Rob Yates trying to pull Barker away on the leg side. Got a huge top edge. Went up in the air. Brad Wheel at mid-off taking the catch. He was out for no score, and he could have been out the ball before, because that was an equally simple of chance. A straightforward edge through to Prest at first slip, and somehow he managed to put it down. In fact, it would have been harder to drop than take. That one. As edge, it's gone through third slip, but there is no third slip. That was catchable high. It's gone down to third, and Ian Holland's done a great job at the far end of the ground, keeping that in play. And that'll be 2 runs to Barnard. 3 slips, that would have been gone. Well, actually, the way Hampshire are catching in the slips this year, you could have had 10 slips and it would have been dropped. But it was well away from Liam Dawson at second slip.
I promise you I'd have found it very easy to drop that catch from that Brown Wheel. So
they're actually, it's funny, isn't it? You know, when you watch slip catches being taken over a number of years and what have you, you think, yeah, that's regulation, and it was. But when you're actually there with the ball coming at you, it's amazing how much more difficult it looks. Now Barnard's driving, but he finds Captain Gubbins out in the covers, and that's no run. 18 for 1, 5 gone.
Forgive me for not remembering, but did you ever field the slips?
Very badly, but I didn't do it very often. Mark Nicholas, our captain, would never have me in the slips because he knew how bad I was, and he was right. But the amazing thing was, when I went to Wellington and played a bit of overseas proing there for Wellington, the captain at the time thought that I did field in the slips, so I fielded next to Jeremy Coney. So it was quite an amazing slip cordon for Wellington, because Jeremy Coney was a renowned slip catcher. So there was him at first slip, me at second, and actually in the first game I played, I got a catch. So they all thought I was great in the slips. When I told them I was useless, they didn't believe me. So yeah, mixed. But usually I was bad. It's a difficult position. It's a really specialist position, that.
So Ian Holland to bowl. And he's bowling to Will Rhodes. Right arm over. Rhodes guides that, but doesn't get it through the covers. And a tumbling stop from Joe Weatherly.
Have you fielded in the slips?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Daft.
Have you never?
No. They'd have put me out, off the ground if they possibly could, I think, with my fielding. I do remember taking one catch close-ish, which I was quite pleased with. But, yeah. That's gone past Rhodes' outside edge. He almost falls on his stomach playing forward to that terrific delivery. That's moved away.
That's a big leg break from full. Where's that come from? Wow. If you're watching on the live picture feed, you'll see that. Both batters having a chat with each other. Barnard just saying, that's gone miles.
In comes Holland. Oh, that one's a rather lazy shot from Rhodes. It's moving away, but didn't have to play it. That's taken by the wicketkeeper. So there's a reserve days. I'm trying to check. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, I'm only saying that because Mr. Kevin Howes at 5 Live said there was.
Oh, well, he'd know.
Yeah, well, I normally take everything at face value that he tells me. He didn't tell me that, apparently. He's just saying to me, no, I didn't. So it must have come from somewhere else.
I look at the regulations, it doesn't really say, to be honest. That one's a bit leg side-ish, and Rose turns it around his pads, and it's out into the deep into the leg side, and he'll get 2 runs for that. Rose onto 4, and it's 20 for 1.
See, I think Kevin Howes has missed a trick there, you see, because if it's true, he could take credit for it. And like he found out about the player availability, which we weren't quite sure, some of us
No.
weren't. I wasn't this morning when we arrived. But he found that out, got it clarified. And we all look at him and say, wow.
In comes Holland, right arm over, and that's clipped away through the onside for runs for Rhodes, and I don't think it's going to go all the way. He will get 3 runs for it. Is that Middleton who's fielded that? So 3 to Rhodes. A couple of things to mention on the regulations. Firstly, the minimum number of overs that constitutes a match. It's 10 overs in the group stages. It is 20 overs by the time we get to this stage. So both teams have to face at least 20 overs for there to be a result. Okay. And whereas, again, a group game, a tie is a tie. Obviously, it's not going to be in a knockout. And so it is down to fewest wickets lost if the scores are tied. Holland comes into bowl. And a little tip and run from Barnard. He hesitates, but he's through for a single. And if the scores are tied and the wicket's the same, then it goes down to what the score was after 10 overs, then 9, then 8. They are determined not to have a super over, which I think is a bit of a shame. But 24 for 1 at the end of 6 overs.
Yeah, I've not seen too many super overs over the years.
I
The ones I've seen.
don't think I've seen any live. There was that little one for England, wasn't there?
So, yeah, there should be more of those.
Yeah. But I don't see why the scores aren't tied. Yeah. I particularly think going back to 10 overs, and it's a bit like when England won the World Cup. It's a rather artificial way of deciding it, but anyway.
Well, Barker's round the wicket to Barnard, in behind that one. Plays it back to the bowler. 24 for 1 then. We've started the 7th over here. And Barker into his 4th over, 1 for 8.
So no overs gone for more than 6 so far. There's been 1 maiden.
It's been an accurate start, actually.
Mm.
I do think I've seen this ball moving around this morning, probably a little bit more than I've seen in other games. So I do think Hampshire should be at least getting a 1 or 2 wicket. Well, they've got 1, another wicket or 2. Barnard plays that late, plays it well, down to 3rd. And he'll move on to 13, 25 for 1. It is an overcast condition with the ball moving a bit where you would expect to take a couple of wickets at least. So I think if they don't, might feel they've missed out.
Yeah, well, they got 1. 1 or 2 other scares.
Ball's going through nicely at the moment. Tom Prestice going a little wider. That first, well, he's 1.5 slips really, so he's the only one there keeping Ben Brown company.
Somebody's brought some biscuits. I didn't see who it was. I can't eat them while I'm actually commentating.
They look lovely.
Yeah, well, you can go ahead, but...
Well, I might have to wait.
Clog up my voice if I start eating those.
Yeah, I think we'll demolish those, no problem. That swings a bit, turned away. Holland's on the 45 on the leg side, does well, dives to his left, otherwise that was 4. Single there to Will Rhodes. He moves on to...
Oh, is he signaling no ball? Oh, he is.
3 hit.
Well, that's exciting.
Oh, Barnard's got...
Well, he's hit 1 for 6, I think, in this season, Scott. I wasn't there, but I think I'm right. Did Barnard hit a free hit for 6 in one of the games? Yeah, I thought he did.
Well, you're allowed to change the field, I think, for this.
Yes, because they got out a single, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, now, what's Barnard going to do here? He's got options. He's got plenty of options. It's for Barker to try and get the right one for him. Otherwise, even though there's big boundaries here today, this could be a difficult for Barker, because of course we are still in the power play, so there are only 2 fielders allowed outside the circle. So he's got to get this right. He's going to go full, surely he does. Whipped away, it's only going down to fine leg, and it's a catch, but it won't count. Well, there you go. It's only 1 run, but it actually was a catch down to a Nyron Donald at fine leg.
Well, if I'm Ed Barnard, I'm leaving that, because I think that's going for leg side wides.
Yeah.
But he's practicing the shot now, so the no ball hasn't proved as expensive as it might. No, still costs 3 runs.
As a bowler, you're relieved at that. Certainly.
Effectively 4 from 1 legitimate delivery, isn't it?
Yeah. Free rein with only 2 fielders out. Here comes Barker. Oh, it's edge through to Ben Brown, and there's the 2nd wicket. Just straightened on Will Rhodes, and he was sucked into the drive. Not a lot of foot movements, and a regulation catch. Goes through to Ben Brown, fortunately from a Hampshire point of view, because he does tend to catch most of the ones that go behind the wicket. It's just when they go a little wider are the problems. So 29 for 2 and Rhodes goes for 8.
Are you telling us that Barker's having a difficult season? Because he doesn't look it out there.
Well, that's the thing. And, you know, generally he's bowled quite well in this competition. But, well, you've probably still seen him more than I have, but I think everybody down our way will agree that he's just not quite looked himself. But today, I have to say, he's probably bowled about as well as he has done in this competition anyway. And he's done all right. Good
applause for Sam Hain as he comes out. Played in the 100 for the Trent Rockets. Had a slightly more productive 100 than he's had in previous years. I'm still utterly baffled by the way he's used or not used by coaches and captains in that competition. Don't get it at all. He won the first match practically single-handed, and then they put him down the order. And I just don't get it. But anyway, Warwick should be delighted to have him for this competition. If you're just tuning in, we did clarify, Kevin Houser got to clarify, there is nothing to stop you playing anyone you like who's on your staff at this stage of the competition now that the 100's over, other than overseas players. So, as I said before, Warwickshire haven't gone the whole hog. They haven't brought Dan Mosley or Chris Benjamin back, who were the other 2 they could have done. But they have brought Sam Hain back. And why not have your best player for a semi-final?
Yeah, why not? I agree. You could have had Wokes and Moe Nelly, I suppose.
Yeah. They might have struggled to get that one past England. Although, 50 over, they don't play much 50 over cricket, so it wouldn't have been a bad thing, you would have thought, from an England point of view.
Barker's round the wicket to Hain, who's leaving that one alone as it goes through to Ben Brown. That's a nice little sighter, isn't it? Yeah, his top score was what, 63 in the first game?
Yeah.
For the Rockets against
the
Brave, the Southern Brave up at Trent Bridge. Brave women who won the competition first time they have done, having played in 2 previous finals.
I must say, like you described as Paul.
Barker through to Haynes. Haynes forward. Plays that back to Barker.
First, congratulations to Marie Kelly, the Warwickshire captain, for getting to the final with the opposition. And also Grace Ballinger, who commentates with us from time to time. So clearly, given our cricketing knowledge has rubbed off on her, commentating beside us. That's boosted her and helped her reach the final of the 100.
She's learned quick.
Yeah.
She must be quite good. I've seen some comments actually that people say they quite enjoy her commentary.
Yeah.
So she'll be doing a bit
I'm
more
not sure.
with
I'm not sure whether we can afford her now that she's a 100 finalist.
Good left-arm bowler as well.
So, Ian Holland in, still the same 2 bowlers bowling. Why don't you do it this way as well? As Holland comes in. And that's whipped away by Barnard. He's got that through the gap. That'll be 4 runs. Well, Barnard, once again, is thriving. 2 other batters have gone. Barnard in incredible form in this competition. It was his call to... his request to open the batting. Well, there was a sort of vacancy there with Alex Davis going to the 100. Unfortunately, he got injured, Davis, but there was a vacancy at the top of the batting order, and Ed Barnard held his hand up and says, I fancy that. And he has justified that call. This next one is bounces a bit, and he's guided that down to 3rd nicely, and we'll get a single as it runs down there to Mason Crane. So, Kevin just doing an update on BBC Radio Solent. Now, fielder and the mid-wicket boundary is coming in, so long leg is going back for Sam Hain. Still in the power play, so still just 2 fielders allowed in the boundary. They've got 2 slips. There's no rule about having catches, like there was for a few years, wasn't there? That was all a bit farcical, but you had to have 2 fielders in catching positions, and then how do you define catching positions? Well, that rule doesn't exist anymore, but they have got 2 slips in place. As Hayne just takes a little step down the pitch and then pushes that out to offside for no run.
Sorry about that, I had to do a quick update.
Yes, that's all right.
My alarm didn't go off.
I've managed to miss one myself already today, which is a bit annoying. It wasn't 100% my fault, but probably 75%. 34 for 2.
Yeah, so I think Hampshire will be fairly happy with this start, but Ed Barnard looks particularly dangerous. I'm sure Sam Haines got a say in this yet.
Well, Haynes on strike now, and he's just moves across the stump slightly and plays that one to mid-on, just wide enough of mid-on to be able to go through for his first run. 35 for 2 in the 8th over.
Yes, it is. Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
This Metrobank One Day Cup semi-final.
Yes, to the cricket ground. Yes.
Final on Saturday, September the 16th. The winners of this will play the winners of the match. It starts at 2 o'clock today at Leicester, Leicestershire and Gloucestershire, which will be live on BBC Online, of course, and of course the final will be as well. That's past the outside edge of Barnard. Goodness me. How did that miss the outside edge? Just moved away as Barnard prodded at it. And Brown, wearing his distinctive bright yellow pads, takes the ball behind the stumps. So, well, though Barnard's playing, he's had 1 or 2 little scares. And Holland is in again. Second slip's gone a bit wider, and Barnard's just guided that past that second slip down to 3rd for an agreed single, which takes him to 20. He keeps the strike, 36 for 2 at the end of the 8th over. Just 5 off the over, so 7 off the over, I do beg your pardon, which actually makes it the most productive over so far for Warwickshire. But it's still a fairly sedate power play and a dangerous one as well, with 2 wickets down.
Yeah, I mean, it's been some good bowling this morning. A little bit of help, a bit of swing for Barker, a little bit of seam movement for Ian Holland. Barker 2 for 13 from 4. Ian Holland none for 19 from 4. Barker to continue then to Ed Barnard, who's on 20. He's got a slip and a third slip. Gap between 1 and 3 there is off the back foot. That's a beautiful shot there from Barnard. Just used the pace of the ball off the pitch. Just allowed the ball to come onto him and just guided that through forward of point. That's a lovely shot. Beautiful piece of timing. Proper cricket shot, that one.
He's got 2 centuries in the competition this season. He is one of... I'll count them in a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's currently 9 players who've got 2 centuries or more.
Just played that late into the ground. Half stopped by Prest at first slip, who palms it down to third. And in fact, the pace off the ball allows the batters to come through for 2. Quite a deliberate shot. Bounced in front of Prest, but couldn't quite get his hands around it.
One player in this competition has got 3 centuries this season.
Ooh, can I guess?
Yeah, go on. Do you want a clue?
Somebody shouted something.
Yeah, that's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? Honestly.
I must admit. Oh, Rue.
No, actually. Formerly of this parish, briefly.
Oh, God, I'm still struggling. Here comes Barker, bowls. It's down the leg side. That'll be a wide. Oh, they're asking for a catch, and he's gone. He's actually got a little tickle on that as Ed Barnard. It's a little bit of a death, but it's a big wicket from a Hampshire point of view. They'll take it. Barnard goes for 26, and it's 42 for 3.
Well, that's a massive blow, and really frustrating for Ed Barnard. I do, it's easy to say sitting up here, but it does amaze me when batters play deliveries that are clearly going to be leg side wides. Let it go. Take the wide. But Barnard was looking to glance that down to fine leg and just got the tiniest of glances on it. He's shaking his head. I don't think that's disputing the decision. I might be wrong. Maybe he is, but I think it's more, can't quite believe he's got out that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially when we're in good form. It is a little bit of a death. I think you're right though, but it's a bit of instinct, isn't it? That's the trouble.
Yeah.
With that, Clive. It's a tough one. Now, Keith Barker, who I know I've been saying that he hasn't been great this year. He's been okay, but no more. Yeah, he looks like the Keith Barker that you know and we knew up until this season. He has 3 for 19, which currently are his best figures in this competition. He got 3 for 25 off 9. In the second game against Essex, his first game. So, of course, to slightly better that. But yeah, that's a huge blow for Warwickshire, isn't it?
The only good thing from Ed Barnard's point of view, he only just crept past Andrew Umeed to be the top run scorer of the competition by 1 run. And I would think, I can't see that there's anyone close enough to him now to threaten that position.
Something anyway.
I'll say that Ollie Price could do it.
It's Barker to Michael Burgess, the keeper, who's driving hard back to Barker, who half stops it. So, well, I mean, he might have another game yet to increase it.
He might, but I'm thinking if he doesn't, you'll sweat on Ollie Price. Actually, who's on 553, so he is 47. Yeah, he's only about 61 behind with Gloucestershire, with 1 or 2 games left. Yeah. I don't know whether they get any prizes these days for those. There was a time I think when you did. I'm not sure whether you do now.
Just a pat on the back saying, well done, son.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Burgess faces Barker. Burgess is forward. Pushes that up to extra cover. Burgess is one of 2 changes in the Warwickshire side. Hayne the other.
Yes, Burgess was only rested for 1 game. It was slightly surprising when he was, but they just... And they got 4 championship games to come, so she decided just to give him a break for 1 game. And I think also just gave Kai Smith a bit of a go behind the stumps.
Yeah.
Did well.
It's an interesting story, isn't it, Kai Smith?
Yeah.
UAE?
Indeed.
Originally. Barker bowls short. Burgess ducks underneath. That's good pace.
I think he is still UAE player. I think he was playing as an overseas officially.
Oh, right.
That's my understanding. I know Dougie Brown was listening to our commentary.
Dougie Brown?
Yeah, he's out there now, and he was listening intently. 42 for 3. 9 overs bowled. So what was that? That was 6 off the over, but a wicket as well. And Barker, was he 3 for 23?
Wow.
Yeah. Welcome back, Keith.
Yes, he loves his ground, doesn't he, really? Clearly at home, still at Edgbaston. Still getting applause as well when he walks back to his mark. They remember him fondly.
Might actually be 3 for 25. But anyway. No, I'll correct myself again in a minute. Holland comes in to bowl. Oh, my, Haynes padded up to that. He was outside. They start running a single, and they need to scamper back to avoid being run out, because the umpire made it pretty clear to them, I think, that they weren't going to be given that run, because he obviously didn't play a shot at it. So they almost got into a bit of a pickle there. Keith Parker's 3 for 19, I do beg his pardon, after 5 overs. So he's done very well, and yeah, a bit risky from Hayne. It was well outside off stump when he patted it, but Holland comes in to bowl. And that one bounces a bit. Hayne plays it down into the ground. So much riding on Hayne now, you feel, for Warwickshire, with Ed Barnard gone.
Yeah, it's always a blow, isn't it, when teams lose their players in form early on in an important game such as this. But of course, this is where bringing Sam Hayne in, you would hope from the Warwickshire point of view, kind of negates that.
Holland comes in. Hayne dances down the pitch, tries to get it wide at mid-off, doesn't succeed, doesn't get it past the fielder. I wonder whether Ben Brown might be tempted to come up to the stumps if Hayne's going to play this way. He's not doing so yet.
No, he has done when players have done this. But you're right, there's still a little bit of movement out there, though, isn't it? You've got to think about that in the back of your mind as well, in making that decision.
Well, Keith Parker's coming in at fine leg into the circle, now putting field on the square leg boundary. Last over the power play, of course, so they can put a few more fielders on the boundary after this over. Hayne turns it around onto the leg side, actually takes advantage of that fielding change to run a single to the man who'd gone out into the deep. And Warwickshire limping somewhat to 43 for 3.
Yeah, it's not the ideal start. Looks like it's, at the moment, a good toss to have won. A little bit of rain forecast a bit later as well, which may affect this second innings.
Keith Parker had just gone back to the fine leg boundary, only to come back up again, so he's having to jog about a bit. Holland comes in to bowl, and that's a little tip and run from Burgess. Well run from Burgess. He's hit that straight to mid-off, but he's taken the pace off the ball, and he's called Sam Hayne through. And they got through for the 1. Warwickshire need to grab every run they can get at the moment. 44 for 3.
That's a really good run, that. My word, that is a good run. You know, and Iron Donald isn't the slowest at mid-off. I think that's always a sign of a good player. They seem to find runs at mid-on and mid-off where others don't.
So Holland, his bowling partner take all the wickets so far. Hayne moves across the stumps, plays that again to the fielder on the square leg boundary. It's as if Sam Hayne's saying, if you want to put your fielder there, I'm going to take a single every time. 45 for 3. The end of a tough old power play for Warwickshire. Say they've never been particularly productive in their power plays this season. Their biggest power play was 58 for 1 against. Oh no, got 73 without loss against Sussex. They did go. They were chasing a target there, and they went big there. But when they batted first, 46 without loss, 21 without loss after 2 overs against Northants. So a quiet power play here, but crucially, they've lost 3 wickets.
Barker to continue then from our commentary in the pavilion end. Now, I've just been sent the whole rules for this competition from Henry and Romsey, sonatcricket@gmail.com. It's taken me a little while to get to the bit about the reserve day.
Oh, we found it,
yeah,
did you?
We got it.
I've looked.
That's pushed out on the offside by Hayne. So this paragraph says, Should the reserve day be required in the playoffs, semi-finals or final, the hours of play shall be agreed between the two counties and approved by the umpires and the ECB. So it sounds like you've been
a week on Thursday.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So there you go. So
okay.
They're not sort of steadfast. A nod of approval from Kevin Howes. Now, do you know what? I've been waiting 15 years for that. So that's a length ball to Hayne. That's made my day. It didn't start particularly well because my car broke down in the, well, not mine, but the BBC car broke down. But now it's improved greatly by the nod of approval from Mr. Kevin Howes at 5 Live. That's bright. You must perk me up, man. 45 for 3. Somebody who's also, I'm sure, perked up by his figures. Keith Barker's bowling nicely here. Got 2 slips in here for Hayne. Big wicket this one, if they can get it. It's a length ball. Not a lot of swing for him at the moment, so he's having to work a little harder now as Hayne pushes that up to mid-off. Mason Crane doing the field. Ever had the nod of approval from Mr. Kevin Howes? You probably have.
Well,
many
probably
times.
have.
Yeah, I think it's a regular occurrence for you, I'm sure. That's a nice feeling. Quarter to 12 here at Edgbaston. Probably is everywhere else as well, but 45 minutes of play we've had. 45 is the score. Haynes on the back foot, bit of bounce. Plays it out square on the offside, fielded by Weatherly. Haynes is on 3. Quiet 3 for him at the moment. He's just getting a feel for the conditions, the pace off the pitch, and I'm sure he's getting himself set to bat long here. Needs to.
Little message for Jed Scott. Oh. Yes, he was out next ball, Jed. And Yates was dropped by
Tom Prest at first
slip, yeah.
The simplest of first slip chances. Hayne works that straight delivery behind square on the leg side. He's got a lot of bat on that. That might go all the way, does. And Irwin Donald down at fine leg can't come around quick enough. Nice piece of timing. Hayne moves on to 7, 49 for 3. Well, coming towards the end of the 11th. Yeah, that was a bit of luck for Hampshire, that wasn't it really? A horrendous drop. I don't think Tom Press will mind me saying that, because it was. Horrendous drop.
But he got away with it.
Straight in, straight out. We said at the time it was more difficult to drop it than it was to catch it. But he managed to find a way. There's Barker round the wicket, bowls, and down the wicket comes Hayne, drives up to mid-on, doesn't time it. Brad will throw at the stumps, but Hayne's well home, doesn't even have to run the bat. And that's the 50 up for Warwickshire, and it's come up at the end of the 11th. 50 for 3.
So, taking into account the no ball, it's 50 in 67 balls. It's a relatively easy sum to do, that, isn't it? And it's been a struggle. I mean, they would have been all right if they'd been 50 without, also even 50 for 1 at this stage. I think they'd have been happy enough, but 50 for 3. They have some building to do here, Warwickshire.
Yeah, bit of work to be done.
Now, Ben Brown's called for the helmet, so he is going to stand up to the stumps.
Yeah, good call.
It was quite striking. He's got his yellow pads and his slightly different shade of yellow helmet.
Bright, isn't it?
Yeah. Dazzling the batter. It's actually more dangerous, I suppose, of dazzling the bowler. And that's guided by Sam Hayne for a single down to 3rd. I see Jed's given us a nod of approval now from level 4. So there we are. Oh, so he's here. He's upstairs.
The plaudits are coming in thick and fast from every direction in the pavilion.
If you're here, Jed, how did you miss it, though?
He's having a coffee at the back now.
51 for 3.
It's a good coffee machine here, actually.
It is.
One of the better ones.
We also know where the reserve one is if that one's not working. It's a bit of a secret that we discovered this year. That one is played to point. Was a misfield, and that will cost a run, I'm afraid, for Burgess. That should have been stopped, should have been a dot ball. He got something on it. But, alas, Middleton let it go past him, and it's 1 run, 52 for 3.
He was too eager coming in. Tell you what, that square looks well used out there, doesn't it?
It has been, I have to say. Hayne plays at the mid-off. There's been so much cricket played here this year. We had the International Blind Sports Games have their cricket final here the other day. So there's been that. There's, of course, the 100's been here. Warwickshire's stubborn refusal to move any matches to an outground doesn't help. Holland comes into bowl to Hayne, who plays back to the bowler. There's no run. Yeah, Gary and his ground staff do work incredibly hard here.
Yeah, it's a lot of games, isn't it? I was having a conversation before we came on air, actually. I mean, where does Warwickshire go?
So they have been, I mean, they stopped. They used to go out places like Coventry and Nuneaton, and then they stopped. And then they had 2 years where they played matches at Stratford. That's a while ago now. That was in the noughties. As Holland comes into bowl, and there's a little push out to the offside, there's no run. And then they had a couple of years where they played white ball games at Rugby School, which wasn't so long ago. They have developed their sort of second ground at Portland Road, but I refuse to call that an out ground because it's over there.
Is that the foundation? Right?
Yeah. So, and there has been talk of them potentially playing games there, but to me that wouldn't be playing at an out ground. That would just be playing at somewhere close to home. This next one, Hayne leans back, and this time that's a well stop, but it's not actually Middleton there this time. It's Prest who stops that well, and it's a tidy over. Still Warwickshire struggling for runs a little bit. 52 for 3 they are after 12.
Yeah, so the foundation ground was the old Mitchell and Butlers.
Yeah, and the women play there now, or at least the Warwickshire County do, and Central Spots. I think they play the odd game there. And the second 11 play pretty much all their games there now.
It's not really a first-class ground, is it?
I mean, they probably could stage a game of this there, but I just don't see the point because it's not as if you're getting out to your people, is it? Because it's too close.
That's true.
However, economically it might be viable.
12 gone, 52 for 3. Here's Barker around the wicket to Burgess. Burgess drives back to the bowler, and there is no run. Somebody mentioned to me Warwick School. Would that be an option?
I'm not aware of that one. Kenilworth, potentially, they've developed their ground a fair bit. They did play last year, to be fair to them. They did play a couple of exhibition games. They played one, I think one was at Kenilworth, and one was at Coventry.
Spark around the wicket once more to Burgess. Burgess is forward, beaten on the inside edge. Big shout behind, not out. That's just taken off a length and gone through quickly to Ben Brown. Gone between bat and pad.
Yeah, the shout lacked conviction in the end, but it was a good ball. And, well, I think Warwick should be grateful for the rule that bowlers can only bowl 10 overs in this competition, because if Barker bowled the entire innings, well, they'd be in trouble.
Well, he's been impressive. I'm sure from a Hampshire point of view, him playing in this competition is to get him back into some sort of form.
Well, it's working.
Well, it's certainly working today, isn't it, really? I have to say, you're right. He just loves his ground, obviously. Lovely drive through extra cover. Little bit over pitched. Burgess has timed that nicely. And that will be 4 runs. And takes the Warwickshire total on to 56 for 3.
Enjoyed having Keith Barker here. He had a couple of... remember he had a confrontation with Knotts once. He used to do this thing where he... as he came into bowl, for no reason whatsoever, he'd just sort of stick a hand out. As he ran in.
Yeah,
Did he still do that? Because he got... I know he does the wobbly run-up sometimes.
He did that as well. Right. Here's Barker to Burgess, pulls the length back, but Burgess steers that to backward a point. Well fielded by Joe Weatherly.
Anyway, Knotts took exception to this. I think it was Chris Reeve was back at the time, and every time he did it, Chris Reeve would withdraw. And in the end, they got a ruling, apparently, that he couldn't do it.
What, Chris Reeve?
No, that Barker couldn't do what he was doing. Another example, bowlers will say, of batters being able to do whatever they like. And bowlers not. Well, that was quite fun. But yeah, and then he used to do the wobbly run-up every now and then.
Yeah, he still does that. Yes. Not today, though. as Burgess is forward. Plays that up to mid-off.
And of course, as you say, it was quite a combination between him and Jitan Patel, with him being a left-hander and Patel bowling into his rough. That was quite lucrative for Warwickshire.
It was very lucrative. Good combination, that, wasn't it? For a while, quite a long while actually.
It was.
All the batters used to struggle with that big rough patch. Still doing it, of course. Felix Organ benefiting it from sometimes from Hampshire. Burgess gets another length ball, which he pushes out towards extra cover. So that is another over completed by Barker. 56 for 3, 13 overs gone. The men out: Rob Yates for no score, Will Rhodes for 8, and Barnard for 26.
Yeah, Warwickshire just trying to rebuild here. Sam Hain using all his experience. He knows he's going to have to bat pretty much the innings now for Warwickshire to get anything like a total on the board. They do have a strong bowling attack, Warwickshire, so they will back themselves to have a go at defending even a modest total, but at the moment they've got a bit of work to do to even get a modest total.
Yeah, I have.
We're going to see Liam Dawson in now to bowl.
Yeah, playing his second game in this year's competition. Played all the games for London Spirit and then played the quarter-final on Sunday. 10 overs, 2 for 47. His figures. Got a quick email while Dawson's setting his field. Chris Main, suncricket@gmail.com. He says, good morning, enjoying watching the live feed and commentary. Yes, we're on the Warwickshire website and YouTube channel for the live pictures with commentary. We're also on the BBC Sport website and app, and also 5 Sports Extra.
Yeah, it's come clean, by the way.
Sorry?
He said coffee was involved.
We knew that.
Flat white, just in case my wife is listening, he says.
Yeah. Handy selection of biscuits up there as well by the machine. Here's hoping for a Hampshire victory, says Chris. Never a good slip fielder myself, but did enjoy fielding in the gully, he says, referring to that drop by Tom Prest.
Dawson comes in to bowl round the wicket, and that's playing the offside. Well, that begs the question, how different is it then, fielding in the gully? I suppose the ball doesn't tend to come as quickly to you.
Yeah.
If you're catching there.
Well, it's a different it's a different preparation in a way. First slip, you're always watching the bowler come in, and you're watching the ball onto the bat. As you move around the slips, you're just watching the bat. So gully, you're definitely just watching the bat. So you know there are different skills.
Dawson in. Ooh, Hain was looking, I think, half-minded to sweep that. Changed his mind at the last minute. Was just a little late on it, but managed to push it away onto the onside. So there is a slip in place now. Wicketkeeper standing up. Sam Hain. The moment digging in. He plays back to that, doesn't get hold of it, manages to get some bat on it, back to the bowler.
Quicker ball from Dawson, just comes in a fraction. Hain was looking initially to give himself some room.
I shall try not to forget my next update, and then we'll bring Phil in after I've done my next update. This Hain makes a bit of room, and bowler gets excited because he exposes his stumps, but he gets bat on it and ambles through for a single. So the runs are certainly not flowing for Warwickshire, but still time. That's the thing about 50 over cricket, of course. There's still time to build an innings. But with 3 wickets down, Warwickshire very little margin for error now.
Yeah, big partnership for Warwickshire, this one, potentially.
Sam Hain's just come down the pitch to give Michael Burgess a nod on what he thinks Dawson's doing. Dawson, left arm round the wicket, and Burgess does the same thing, makes room, looks to play. Again, Dawson's convinced that ball's going to go onto the stumps, but Burgess got bat onto it. Couldn't get it past the inner field, though, so there's no run. Burgess had a couple of decent innings in this competition this season. Hasn't been required in a lot of games. Is that one? Oh, he's bowled him! And, well, he was causing problems there, Dawson, and he goes on a little run of celebration. Almost an Imran Tahir celebration there from Liam Dawson. And Warwickshire in desperate trouble now as Burgess is bowled for 6. So I won't bother talking about what form he's in now.
I'll tell you what, that's clever, skillful bowling, because he's been allowing the ball to come in with the arm and keeping the line tight. That has pitched and straightened and got through the defences there of Burgess. He's expecting the ball there to be coming into him, so he's playing slightly across it. The ball pitches. If you're watching the live picture feed, here's the replay. You'll see it now. As he comes in, you'll see the ball pitch straight and hits off stump. That is a superb piece of bowling. Not just that particular ball, but there's several balls leading up to it.
Well, even more now, Warwickshire are relying on Sam Hain, but he needs someone to stay with him. The last ball of the 14th over, that was. And Warwickshire are 57 for 4.
So 3 wickets for Barker, 1 for Liam Dawson. Email here from Stephen Eason, silentcricket@gmail.com, talking about players who have been available and not playing. Stephen says, given the importance of this match, is it not a bit surprising that James Vince is not playing? Well, you remember last year when Hampshire got through to the semi-finals, they didn't play Vince and co in that one, staying relatively loyal to the players that got them there. Obviously, he's had a long, hard month captaining the Southern Brave in every match, and presumably he would have had to replace Gubbins as captain, which would be very hard on Nick Gubbins. That's right, it would be. Do you think that these are the reasons, or are there others that you know of? Enjoying the live stream and the great commentary as usual. Well, I just think, I know Liam Dawson was very keen to play in this. I'm not saying James Vince wasn't, but I think, as we've been discussing, really, isn't it, that if there's an injury replacement, that's fine. If there's one or two others like Hampshire losing Eddie Jack, Don Kelly to England under 19s, I think that's fair enough. Here's Brad Wheel replacing Keith Barker. Brad Wheel bowls, and that's a length ball to Hain, pushes that up to mid-on. Now, Brad Wheel was contracted to the Trent Rockets, but didn't actually play a game.
Played one match for Warwickshire on loan, slightly bizarrely, wasn't it, 2 years ago?
Yes, he did.
Personally, I think you field your strongest team, but there's always going to be a bit of balance, and you might be right. Maybe James Vince feels he needs a bit of a break, and that's fair enough. Warwickshire say haven't gone the whole hog. They brought Sam Hain here, but they haven't brought in Dan Mosley, who would certainly be in the team, and Chris Benjamin would possibly be if they were absolutely going for their strongest setup.
I think there's a happy medium there somewhere, isn't there, really? Wheel bowls, that's worked away through mid-wicket by Hain. There will be 2 as the ball makes its way out towards the Holly stand side of the ground. Tom Prest is out there. 59 for 4 in the 15th. Yeah, I think sides have got it sort of just about right for this game, really. I know the quarter-final against Worcestershire, there was no Adam Hose, formerly of this parish. Worcestershire didn't select him.
It's possible that, except, to be fair, if the match had been played, and Worcestershire may have been sensitive to the fact that if the match had been played on the original intended date, he wouldn't have been available.
Right, that's true. Yeah. Hain bowls, down the wicket comes Hain, drives past a diving mid-on. He didn't quite get hold of it, but he's got enough that it takes it up towards the boundary below us. And a diving Mason Crane at mid-on couldn't quite get there in time, 63 for 4.
Yeah, it was in the air for a bit, wasn't it? Maybe slightly stopped on him, but a couple of shots from Hain. Such a good batter, and he'll be keen to make an impression. He's been talked about a little bit on the England stage. It still baffles me how he keeps getting overlooked.
His wheel bowls to Hain, length ball, and Hain just quietly plays that in front of him.
I've got to do an update in 6 seconds' time, Kevin, so I'll just take it from here if that's okay. This is Clive Eakin at Edgbaston, where Warwickshire are playing in the semi-finals of the Metrobank One Day Cup against Hampshire, but they're finding it fairly tough going at the moment. They are 63 for 4 in the 15th over, being put into bat by Hampshire and the former Warwickshire all-rounder Keith Barker bowling a brilliant spell to remove Rob Yates for 0-1 ball after Yates was dropped in the slips, Will Rhodes for 8, and crucially Ed Barnard, who glanced one down the leg side to be caught behind for 26. Warwickshire's informed batter in this competition. Much depends now on Sam Hain, but he's also seen Michael Burgess go brilliantly bowled by the spin of Liam Dawson for 6. Hain's on 17. Warwickshire have work to do to build any sort of score here. They're 64 for 4 in the 15th over. We'll bring Phil Britt in, shall we, to join you, Kevin.
So young Jacob Bethell to face his first delivery, the 19-year-old left-hander. Played 1 match for the Birmingham Phoenix. Didn't make any runs at all against the Superchargers at Headingley. Full is Brad Wheel. Bethell pushes that up to mid-off. That's Brad Wheel's first over completed. It went for 7. And Warwickshire here are 64 for 4. And we've had 15 of the 50 overs completed. Phil Britt, always good to see Phil. How are you?
Hello, Kevin. Very well indeed, thank you. Morning, everybody. Now, before I went off to a meeting, I heard you say, Keith Barker's not in really much form this morning. I come back 3 wickets, about 17 or 18, and causing mayhem.
Yeah, well, that's just me.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you haven't changed.
No, just throwing everybody off the scent.
What is it about coming back here? He does, every time he comes, he returns. As a lot of people say he should never have left, but anyway, good to see that he's still doing well.
Certainly is. Yeah, he's playing well in this competition, though. Shall I do this one?
Yeah.
Liam Dawson from the Birmingham end, round the wicket, bowls. It's on the line of leg stump, and Hayne just turns that away on the leg side for a single. Moves on to 18. A lot rests on his shoulders. 65 for 4. They are now. But yes, you know, he's looked better in this competition. I have to say, he's looked better in his action. There's just something. He's not. The thing is, in professional sport, professional cricket, you only have to be a percentage point or two down, and you're not performing the way that everybody knows you are. And that's literally all it is. It's nothing. It's no big deal. It's just that 50 wickets last year in the championship, and he's about 18 at the moment, so he's way down. And
how old is he now?
36-ish. Yes,
yeah, something like that.
Done a lot of bowling over the years, of course.
Yeah.
So young Bethel, the 19-year-old, facing Liam Dawson. He's forward. Plays that back to the bowler.
It was a terrific ball which Dawson got his wicket with, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just? Yeah.
Looked at it on the replay.
So there's a little bit there for the spinners, isn't there? As we saw with that ball. As Dawson bowls, Bethel's forward, quietly playing that out on the offside. Yeah, I was saying that you know, really the couple of balls before that are just coming in with the arm, and then that one straightens, and Burgess is playing inside the line, which wasn't surprising really with the balls that he's faced previously in that over. Just clever bowling. Bethel faces Dawson again. He's on the back foot, pulls that away behind square on the leg side, and he'll get 4. Good shot to open his account.
Well, it was much too short from Dawson, and he was onto it quickly and really got himself into the sort of shot which he's probably been practicing through the 100. That anything like that, you're going to whip away, and it was certainly picked well between the two fielders out on the leg side boundary.
Certainly was. 69 for 4. He's off the mark in his 4th ball that he's faced. Here's his 5th. Dawson bowls. He's on the back foot and works that out into the covers for a single. And that man Barker is there again. This time he's fielding at deep cover. He's probably nearer the grounds people there, so you can have a chat with them.
Have a chat with them, yeah.
They were saying, "Oh, we remember you, Keith, when you did this and you did that. Why did you go?" I think he gets sick of those conversations.
Oh, yeah. And every time he sort of, I think he says, "I don't really know why they let me go."
Yes, I don't know. Still don't know. There's a drive from Hayne, not timed, and Dawson gets over there in the end. Fields it, and there is no run. 74 then, 70 for 4 I should say. 16 gone. Hayne has 18 and Bethel has 5.
Well, Warwickshire coming into this match on the back of some recent poor form in semi-finals, particularly here at Edgbaston in white ball cricket. I think Hampshire came here in the T20 last season and absolutely thrashed Warwickshire, if I recall.
Quarter-final.
Yeah, and then yes, sorry, in the knockout stages. Sorry, I should have said knockout rather than semi-final. But, yeah, not done too well of late. And then same this year, ran away with the division in the T20, but got beaten here by Essex in very similar format to the way that Hampshire had beaten us the year before.
It's quite infuriating, isn't it?
Oh,
It
does make you try and advocate that the winner of the division should go straight to finals day. Wheel starts a new over outside the off stump, and Bethel lets that one through to Brown. There's no run.
Yeah, I can kind of understand now why you were saying that, because you kind of tailored that thought to your own team.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, if it was anybody other team, you'd say, "Oh no, absolutely not." But you do think, well, hang on, we played 14 games, we've won a division. Why then are we playing a team who came 4th in another division? Yeah. And I can understand both sides of the argument, but you do feel that the winner should automatically go to finals day. Wheel in. This next one is played solidly back down, and there's no run down to Barker at mid-on.
It's just a way of getting all the southern teams into the finals today again.
Well, they're going to start a plate competition for the northern teams. we're going to be playing on our outground. We're going to, you're talking with Clive about the foundation ground. The 4 northern teams will go up there on finals day and have a bit of a knockabout. His wheel comes in and bowls, and this is left outside the off stump. Good carry through to the keeper. There's no run. 70 for 4 it remains. We're in the 17th over.
I think I'm right in saying, is it 2 of the last
3
years have been all southern teams?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So you can understand why we don't really want southern teams in the final. We don't want to spoil the day.
I don't think they like coming down from the north.
Well, you guys are right. You don't have to travel.
We don't get here. We just have to do the work. Wheel in, bowls. This is run away to cover point. And there's no run. You're not even the bridesmaid. You're really not wanted. But, we sort of obviously have to work on finals day with our other responsibilities. And getting all the sides keep coming in all happy and cheery. And you think, well, it would be nice if occasionally Warwickshire got there.
Or even a northern team.
Yeah, but the other northern teams, that's fine. The other 8 can come whenever it suits. This one is played away beautifully into the offside, but straight to cover point, and there's no run. It was zipped across. I thought for a moment that had got to the field. It was beautifully timed. It's the change in the field. We're having a cover point go out now, out to the boundary to protect that offside boundary, but Bethel really got hold of that one. Nice shot there, but no reward. So Wheel continues. 5 dot balls in this his second over. He comes in around the wicket, bowls, and Bethel is tucked up, and that's a maiden, a bit of a rarity in these days in white ball cricket. So it remains on 70 for 4. We've had 17 overs.
Certainly rarity as you get through the number of overs in the innings, isn't it? First couple of overs sometimes you see that, but certainly rare in the middle overs. Bethel's playing his 5th match in this year's competition. 71 runs at 17.
He's threatened and looked to be, but not really sort of gone on and made a score. He's looking, I think it's fair to say, he's looking for a really good score. He's a terrific young cricketer. He's played a lot at the junior levels for England and with success, but hasn't yet quite in the first team. He got some scores in the T20, but the big score has still really evaded him.
Yes, at Dawson from the Birmingham Inn then. Hayne goes in the air and it's going to fall just short of Fletcher Middleton out at deep cover. He went into out, got a little bit too much into out there, Hayne. He's going for the area over extra cover, just got it a little too square, but he's got away with that.
Yeah, he was lucky. Initially, I thought that was flying over extra cover really away, but it sort of looped back down towards Middleton down there, and I thought for a second that was going to go straight into his hands.
Yeah.
I think the bowler might have thought the same thing as well.
He's just re-practicing that shot down at the non-striker's end. 71 for 4 then. Dawson into his 3rd over, 1 for 8. As Bethel, he's going round the wicket this time to Bethel. Bethel's having a little nudge at that one, may just have withdrawn the bat away at the last moment. Top score of 44 in this competition against Derbyshire here, back in the middle of the month. It's got a slip in as well for the one that slides across the left-hander, floated a bit more by Dawson, driven down the ground by Bethel, and he moves on to 6, 72 for 4. Brings Hayne back on strike. The danger batter as far as Hampshire are concerned here. He's the one that they'll want to go at. They won't feel safe.
No. Well, he's the danger batter. Whoever he plays against, Sam Hayne, he's been in terrific form the last couple of seasons.
Good player, isn't he?
Yeah.
You've seen him grow over the years. As, he makes room for that one, and this time it's a little better out towards Fletcher Middleton as it rolls along the carpet. And he moves on to 20. I mentioned earlier that it's 1 or 2 the coaching staff here of Hampshire, of course, have also been looking after the Southern Brave, and they've had first-hand experience of Sam Hayne this year, because Sam Hayne had a big innings against the Southern Brave, didn't he? Now he goes for the little ramp shot there. Bethel doesn't quite get hold of it, but he'll pick up a single anyway. Moves on to 7. Yeah, he made 63 against.
Yeah.
Well, I think I watched some of that actually on TV.
Did you watch much of the 100
A
this
little
year?
bit here and there. You?
I watched probably more this year than I've watched in any previous years. Yeah, I did watch quite a lot of both the men's and the women's competitions.
Hayne just pushing that slightly upper sleeve back to Dawson. Bounces a couple of times before he picks it up. End of the over. Found his pace quite well here, Dawson. 74 for 4. I guess you wouldn't have watched Birmingham Phoenix too much. They didn't have a great year, did they?
No, they didn't. No, it was hard work for them. When we play here, to be fair, I never get a chance to watch anyway because I'm sort of tucked away working. So their matches sort of go by and we don't get to see them. But I was quite impressed with the thing which stood out this year. The crowds here at Edgbaston have been terrific.
Have they?
Yeah, and really, really a completely different mix and a different sort of crowd to the ones we have for the T20, for the Blast competition, or obviously for the international matches. A very, very individual type crowd, a lot of youngsters, which was wonderful to see. A lot of moms bringing the youngsters to it. Wheel starts a new over. This is flicked away off these pads by Bethel out to the mid-wicket boundary, but I get a single for it. A really nice families coming, with mums, dads with 2 or 3 kids, and all of them, and watching children play outside who weren't watching the cricket but playing games of cricket going on the tarmac outside during the afternoon, because it's a long afternoon, and a lot of youngsters there. But I was really, really impressed with how many people and how much enjoyment they got from it. So from that point of view, it worked really, really well. Wheel in, but Hayne tucks this one away onto square on the onside just for a single. He goes on to 21, 76 for 4.
That's what that competition's all about, isn't it?
What it is, and then the cricket on top of it, they thoroughly enjoy it. The roar and the noise you can hear as it goes on. It certainly ticked all the boxes from that point of view. Now, obviously loads and loads of people don't like it. Lots of people have all different arguments on it, but the only thing I would say, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm very sort of, I suppose, this one goes right through Bethel. He plays forward, and that one beats him on the outside, just moves a little bit away from him, but completely goes through him, and he comes down, wanders down, looks at it. That it does what it said it was going to do, and it's great to see so many new people coming to watch cricket and play. And there must be something, because they're all wearing the shirts. Even the Birmingham Phoenix, who quite frankly this year couldn't buy a point, they must have sold a massive number of shirts. This one is driven straight out to short extra cover, and there's no run. Again, a nice shot from Bethel, but for no reward. It stays on 76 for 4.
Well, they're nice bright colours, Phoenix playing as well, isn't they? Sort of good colours for shirts.
Well, they are, but you really wouldn't want to go out for the evening in one, would you?
Well, not in any of them, let's be honest.
No. That Birmingham Phoenix one with the sort of 2-tone orange on it is, I think you either like it or you don't. This one is driven up to mid-off, and there's no run. Dawson does the fielding. I was offered one at the start of the season. Would I like to wear one in the museum?
Yeah.
And you guessed what I said.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Only if they're free.
I look like a big orange, a giant orange. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that, because obviously the museum's your thing, Phil, isn't it, really? I mean, do loads of people come during the 100 for the museum? Are they that interested?
We had the last game last week on Thursday. This one is played back down to the ground and fielded by Wheel again. Nice economic bowling this from here. Will just the 2 runners off this over, so he's had 3 overs now, just for 9 runs, and Warwickshire 76 for 4 after 19 overs. We had 900 people in through the museum on Thursday. Just short, well, a couple short of 900, but it's been a busy year this year. We've had nearly, it'll be by the end of the season, we should be well over 12,000 visitors through the doors.
All donations?
A donation only, yeah. But I think people have paid enough money to come into the ground. If you can't give them something to look at for nothing, and you know, it's a poor do. And if they wish to contribute, then they very kindly do, and we use that then for buying new memorabilia.
Yeah, lovely. Dawson starts a new over, his 4th from that Birmingham end, as Hayne turns him away on the leg side, jogs through for a single, moves on to 22, 77 for 4. Kevin James and Phil Britt with you. We're on the live picture feed, which is or can be viewed with our commentary on the Warwickshire Cricket website. Also going back to the Hampshire Cricket website, we're also on 5 Sports Extra. Believe if you stay on 5 Sports Extra, you will actually go to the early stages of the other semi-final, which starts at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's Leicestershire, Gloucestershire. So Dawson bowls. Bethel's on the back foot, playing quite cautiously at the moment. Jacob Bethel, he's faced 21 balls for his 8.
It's quite nice to think that one of those two counties, which both have got fantastic white ball tradition,
They have.
is going to be in the final.
Yes. Well, you'll probably speak better about Gloucestershire than me, because I didn't see them this year, but Leicestershire, I can tell you, are a very good batting side. They were in our group. Now he's bowled! Well, he's coming down the wicket, trying to aim down the ground, and that's turned, and it's gone past the inside edge, and it's just clipped the off stump. I'm sure Ben Brown was ready for a stumping if that had missed the stumps, but Bethel, probably the first proper big shot he was looking to play, he misses out there. He was nowhere near the pitch of that. And Dawson picks up his 2nd wicket, 77 for 5.
Yeah, big came down looking to hit it straight back over mid-off, and in the end the ball pitched, and just as Kevin said, he was miles away from it in the end, and it caught the top of the the outside of the off stump. Just going to have a look again, see whether he did get an inside edge on that. No, it bowled him, turned back in and completely foxed him. Warwickshire lose their 5th wicket, 77 for 5. Bethel's short stay has gone. He's 8 of 21 deliveries, and Warwickshire in real trouble in the 20th over, 77 for 5, having been put into bat. Finding it pretty hard going here, and Sam Hayne, who has come straight from the 100, will be looking at this thinking, well, guys, what have you been doing while I've been away?
Well, this is very much now all about Sam Hayne, isn't it? And players playing around him from now on. Ethan Brooks, 22 years of age, younger brother of Henry, also playing in the side, mainly as a bowler.
Well, Warwickshire have got people who can bat and will give support, but you think really that the whole innings now is Sam Hayne to get it. Ethan Brooks has done pretty well since he's come in. Remember, he's leaving at the end of this season to go down the M5 down to New Road at Worcester. So, but he's played pretty well. He's made some good stands whilst he's been in it.
He's played back to Dawson, right-handed batter, foolish delivery. But yeah, he's got to do something special here. At the very least, just try and stick around. 127 runs. This is from 5 innings. This is his 6th as he plays that out quietly on the leg side.
He's not really been able to get. He's been around for a little while now. Ethan, come up through the system, through the Warwickshire development system, but not been able to really break in on a regular basis.
Forward. Plays that out on the offside. Another good over from Liam Dawson. 77 for 5 then. We've had 20 overs of the Warwickshire innings having been put into bat, and I'm just trying to find the bowling figures for Liam Dawson. I've just lost them for the moment. Here they are. You probably got them. Have you got them?
Yeah, he's 4 overs, 2 for 12.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Experience, 2 wickets for him, 3 from the experienced Keith Barker. See, you need a bit of experience to go along with the youngsters.
Yep. Well, with Brad Wheel, Keith Barker, Liam Dawson, there's plenty of experience there for that. Yep. And they've exploited it beautifully. There's a bit in the wicket, and it's been Dawson and Barker who've caused the problems. Barker to start with, and then Dawson chipping in with those 2 wickets, 2 beauties to get his wickets. Sam Hayne faces a new over from Brad Wheel, who's in, and this one is turned a little officially behind square on the outside. I think it might just come off the pad, did it? No, yes it did. It's been signalled as a leg by. And one more to the total, 78 for 5. He was looking to work it on the onside, but it hit him high up on the pad, on the thigh pad as he went across and just ran behind the square. So 78 for 5 brings Ethan Brooks on to face his first ball from Brad Wheel. This Wheel comes charging in and bowls, and this is a full toss, which is punched down to a wideish mid-off, where they get through quickly for the single. So Brooks on his way, 79 for 5.
Have that one to get off the mark.
Yeah, that's it was a nice friendly one from Brad Wheel. He hasn't been too generous, but that one was a nice looping full toss outside off stump, and didn't take full advantage of it, but he helped himself get going. It's a bit grey overhead this morning, particularly over the city behind us, as this one is driven by Hayne, who again up to marker at mid-off, and he does the fielding. There's no run.
It's got the feeling of some rain coming later. Do you think?
It's forecast about 4 o'clock, which I'm really not looking forward to that, because we're camping.
What's this afternoon?
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, from here.
Oh.
And I've got to put the tent up, and I really don't want to be doing that. I don't want to go camping anyway, but to put a tent up in the rain, no thanks. This one, Hayne tries to whip it away through mid-wicket. An expansive shot. In the end, he's much too early on the ball, and just ends up dropping down in front of him.
I'm not sure if that was a little bit of frustration there from Hayne. They bowl well at him. 39 balls for his 22.
He got horribly out of shape with that shot as well, didn't he? But, he's got 30 overs still to go. Warwickshire need him to bat 30 overs and need him to keep accumulating, because they've got to put a lot more runs on the board than they've currently got. Hayne works this one away in front of square on the onside. They're just kept to a single. Middleton comes racing in, and does the Brown not able to take that cleanly. It takes Warwickshire on to 80 for 5. I don't think there's a lot of rain forecast. I think there's a smattering possible.
Right.
But you don't really want any, do you, during the afternoon? And the crowd here at Edgbaston has built up quite nicely as the morning has gone on. We've had pretty good crowds for this competition.
Yeah.
It never looks a lot. It's a bit like down at the GS Bowl. It gets hidden a bit by the size of the ground. This one turned into the onside by Brooks, but again, just for a single. Have they been well supported down there?
Yeah, we've had decent crowds. Yeah, I mean, they were slightly down on Sunday because obviously it was a late schedule against Worcestershire.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But it was, yeah, they've been like what they've been in the past, which I don't think we could have asked for much more.
I went to Hove on Tuesday last week for Warwickshire's match against Sussex. I went purely as a spectator. Left Paul Clive and Adrian to commentate, and I just sat there as a member of the public. And that was a really, really good crowd. Beautiful day, cracking game of cricket, and the crowd were really, really enthusiastic.
Good. Yeah, it's a nice ground. There's a few people in, there's almost. Dawson from the Birmingham end, the far end as we look, and it's a full delivery to Brooks, who just turns that to mid-wicket, fielded by Weatherly. Yeah, we hardly play Sussex, really, apart from T20.
Well, same with Warwickshire. Very, very rarely play them now. We don't play them in T20, obviously.
81 for 5 here. Dawson bowls. Brooks works that away on the leg side for a single. Runs the first one quickly, but unless Barker misfields, which he doesn't, that'll only be a single. Brooks moves on to 3. 82 for 5 in the 22nd over. Yeah, we only go down there once a year, T20s, and that's our lot, really.
It's the first time Warwickshire have been down there, I think, for about 5 or 6 years.
By the sea. There's a cut shot there from Sam Hayne as that goes out on the offside. I might just have to leave you to it for a couple of minutes, Phil, if that's all right.
Okay. So Kevin, just take over as Dawson continues at the Birmingham end. And in it comes, bowls, and Brooks just runs this way down to backward point. Wheel whips round and does the fielding. and returns the ball to Brown, who's in yellow pants, yellow helmet, standing out from the rest of the fielders. They can't miss the wicket keeper. As Brooks waits. Brooks on 3. Waits. This one he goes back and punches it out to short extra cover, and again there's no run. 83 for 5. We're in the 22nd over. Dawson has 2 for 14 at the moment in his 5th over, as he gives this one plenty of air, and again Brooks playing it out straight to short extra cover again, and another dot ball. So just 2 off that over from Liam Dawson. So his 5 overs have just brought 14, but more importantly the 2 wickets, and put Warwickshire in a precarious position at the moment. 83 for 5 after 22 having been put in this morning. So the run rate just slightly under 4 and over, but just dropping over the last 2 or 3 overs. It's just been starting to tail down again. Brad will continue at this pavilion end. The Warwickshire flag, which I'm pleased to say has now returned on the flagpoles at the Birmingham end. It is blowing fairly gently this morning, so there's a bit of breeze, but nothing too. As Wheel starts a new over, he's in, and up on his toes goes Hayne, drops the hands down and runs it to backward point. Warwickshire really struggling here to get this ball away. It's terrific tight bowling. In 24, and Brooks is on 3. And, Sam Hayne returning from his spell in the 100, getting his first match this morning. Wheel into him, Hayne drives it back, straight back over the wicketkeeper's over the wicketkeeper, over the umpire's head, and fires it back down to the rope. So having said that the boundaries have dried up, then Hayne, as Steve O'Shaughnessy there, had to duck down and almost had his head taken off. So Brad Wheel for a second thought about putting his hands there, and then thought, no, I want to carry on playing a bit longer. and sensibly got them out of the way. So Hayne moves on to 28. That was a really fierce shot from Hayne. It takes Warwickshire on to 87 for 5 in this 23rd over. Wheel in again to Hayne, who tucks this one away behind square on the onside. They're going to come back for a second. Hayne's got to move on as the throw comes in, but Hayne is, doesn't take long steps, but he takes lots of little stuttering steps and gets in there in the end very comfortably for another couple of runs. So he goes on to 30, and Warwickshire move on to 89 for 5.
What makes Haynes so dangerous is that a ball short of a length, he comes across the stumps and works the ball from just outside off stump on the leg side where there's a gap, so he's always scoring.
His wheel into him, and this one trying to do the same thing as Kevin's talking about there, but this time that one just threw him a little quicker, and it's hit outside the line of the off stump, but he was trying to work that into the mid-wicket area.
Just nipped back a fraction as well, didn't it? But what he's very good is he'll stand still. If the ball's a little fuller, stand still, so he's driving fairly straight. So as a bowler, you're thinking, well, actually, really, I should be pitching the ball up a little bit more, but then, of course, that invites the drive, and he's very strong on that as well. So he's very difficult to bowl at. Short of a length, he's working you through the leg side from a line that you think is a good line.
This one, he just flicks down to long leg for a single. When he first came into the side, he obviously made a lot of runs very early on, but he also became quite susceptible to being LBW moving across his stumps, and wondered whether it was going to be a fault, which, as people got to know him more, they, would be able to exploit. But I think he's actually used it as a part of his armoury rather than as a weakness. Wheel in bowls, and Brooks is playing that one. A ball which, if it had been Hayne, would have been worked into the onside. Brooks plays forward to and pushes down the wicket. Very different approach and style you've got between these two. But a dot ball to finish. So again, the 4, which was well hit, but apart from that, just 7 off wheels over, and his 5 overs had gone for just 19 runs.
Yeah, he's bowling well here. He was a little expensive in the game against Worcestershire early on, but then returned when the game was in an interesting phase, and he picked up 4 wickets, which in the end Worcestershire finished 10 runs behind. But yeah, he's started much better this game.
90 for 5. We've had 23, and Liam Dawson going to continue. What sort of, do they bowl Dawson in 7 or 8 over spells? 6? Or?
Yeah, he bowled at a very tight time when Roderick and Rob Jones were going well, and he bowled really well and picked them both up in the end. But I think Hampshire always wanted a couple saved from him, as that's turned away on the leg side by Sam Hayne. I think what they didn't have last game, and what they haven't quite got in this game either, is too many seam bowling options. It didn't matter too much at the Aegeus because the wicket sort of helped the spin a little bit, so they were able to bowl Gubbins as well to complement Mason Craners. So it's the seam options they've got too much of. As it's driven in the air, and he's called it extra cover, and that's Ethan Brooks.
Yep.
Just pushing at that one, and it is Gubbins at short extra cover exactly for that shot. And that's a mistake from Brooks, and it's 91 for 6. He goes for 3.
Yeah, it was a ball which he just played on the up, and when you look at the shot, the bat is going upwards and straight. He's played in the last couple of overs. There's been a number of shots played to that short extra cover, which they've controlled, but that particular one, he just got the bat coming up, and in the end, a very comfortable catch for short extra. Warwickshire lose their 6th wicket. Ethan Brooks goes again, disappointingly from his point of view, for just 3 from 12 deliveries, and Warwickshire in real trouble.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you to it, Phil, with Kevin Howes, apparently.
Oh, okay, fine.
If you're all right with that. I mean, I can stay if you prefer.
I think you can. You come and hold my hand, because he's quite a vicious guy.
He can be.
Yeah.
Watch out.
So the new batsman is Jake Lintott. Now, Jake Lintott has developed into a little bit of a white day specialist for Warwickshire. He's scored useful runs in the competition. They need them today. And Kevin Howes, to the commentary today.
He's absolutely no respect this morning. He was a completely different tone with me when I took a call at around about 5 to 9 this morning.
Is that the one? My car's broken down.
Where are you? Where are you? Seems to have forgotten that now, doesn't
Yeah, it didn't sound like it to me. It's going to be Liam Dawson to continue from the Birmingham end. This is swept in the air and he's going to be out, and Dawson has got Lintott, who I was just talking up with his batting prowess. First ball, trying to sweep a ball, he's caught on the edge of the fielding circle at short fine leg, and Warwickshire are in complete free fall here, I'm afraid. He goes for a duck. 91 for 7 in the 24th over, and Dawson gets his 4th wicket, 4 for 15 at the moment. Really has been an impressive spell of bowling, but not the greatest of shots, I don't think, Kevin.
Exactly. So I think what we've got here is some really, and certainly from Keith Parker at the top, you know, some really top-notch. The sort of stuff, actually, I know he's not had, by his standards, he's not had his normal, you know, high-quality season. But the sort of thing that you will have seen at Warwickshire, they've seen at Hampshire and you, the sort of spell you're thinking, oh, I could watch this all day.
Yep.
Unless you're the batting side. It really was true. And I think that sort of scrambled minds a little bit here now. So, and what Hampshire have done is they've continued to bowl really well, but as you say, just one or two of them, you think, well, there's no need to have done that.
Yeah.
But I think the quality of bowling here must have scrambled the minds just a little bit.
I wonder whether that element's there, because Warwickshire have had a couple. I was talking with Kevin about Warwickshire's recent performance in white ball in the knockout stages. They played Hampshire here in the T20 last year and got bowled out very, very cheaply. Similar sort of situation to this. Came up against Essex here this year, and exactly the same thing. I'm just beginning to wonder whether they're going through one of those periods which teams do, where they gets into the mind, the psyche, that we're not good when it gets to this stage.
Maybe.
This next one is the new batsman, by the way, is Danny Briggs, fresh from his long spell in the final at the 100, where he must be taking a rest after his 5 balls. I couldn't quite understand why he didn't get a bit more, but Dawson into him. Oh, and that's a big shout for LBW, and he's gone. He's out. LBW. Briggs has gone, and Dawson now has a 5 for. He's got 5 for 15. He's taken 3 wickets in 4 balls, and Warwickshire are 91 for 8 in the 24th over, and Hampshire are absolutely cruising this game at the moment. And that's the 3rd wicket. So it is really, really difficult time for Warwickshire's batsmen.
I think that, Briggs clearly wasn't
I'm going to
happy.
make way, sorry Kevin, I'm going to make way for Clive, who's going to come in here.
So, taking a look at this, that looked to me as if that really was darting off down the leg side there. And he was playing quite deep to it. I'll give him that, but it looked to me, and no batter is happy when they're out. Although he did have a big smile on his face when he came out to join Sam Hain. That smile quickly vanished on that raising of the finger. Talking of things quickly vanishing, I'm going to have to quickly vanish.
Well, you go one more wicket.
No, I need more than that. Got to fire up the cylinders for 30 minutes of high-octane entertainment whilst we're waiting for them to come back.
What are you giving us? You got your guitar with you?
Well, exactly. I do take requests. Well, actually, no. A couple of years ago, I had to stop taking requests because I didn't really like the requests that were being made. But Clive, this is not great.
This is not good. No, for Warwickshire at all. And it's the way they've been winning games actually in the competition this season. And Dawson, he's still got 1 ball left of his over. Let's have a look. So his 5 for is the 7th in the competition this season, as that's run down to backward point. There's been 1 6 for. Roman Walker took that for Leicestershire. Brad Wheel and Ian Holland have both got 5s in the competition this season, as has Ollie Handorby. And now 5 for, what is he, 5 for 15, which
Dawson at the moment, and his best is 6 for 47. His previous best.
Well, at the moment it would be the 2nd best figures in the competition this year.
Yeah. So Yates for 0, Barnard 26. In between that, Rhodes for 8, Burgess 6, Bethel 8, Ethan Brooks 3, Lintott faced 1 ball out for a duck. Briggs faced 2 balls out for a duck. And Liam Dawson these 5 wickets off the back of Keith Barker. With we mentioned it. We'll keep on talking about it, and we may talk about it for the rest of the day because it really set the tone as it appears now for Hampshire to put in a real strong showing. But Hain is still there. Henry Brooks has just gone out to join him now, but Hain's 32 off 47 balls. It says cut-off time at 2:30.
I don't have to worry too much about that.
I'm thinking the same. Mason Crane with a spin here now, so he's going to be bowling from the pavilion end. He's going to be bowling to Sam Hain. I wonder, Hain, what does he change his game at all here? Not, I don't know. He's going to come in now and bowl. So Hain goes back and works it away. It should just get the 1. I think it will just square on the leg side. So he moves his score to 33 and takes Warwickshire to 92 for 8, but crumbling away. A real, well, it's not a stumble. They're almost flat on their face already.
They are. Only 1 team's been bowled out for double figures in the competition this season. That was Essex by Notts at Chelmsford. Warwickshire bowled Worcestershire out for 108.
I think that's Press who's just been moved a little more square there on the square leg boundary. Oh, and that's very nearly gets an edge of Henry Brooks, who leans back to cut the ball, and that again did not look very clever.
Oh, Sam at the other end, he's going to be thinking, oh, okay, fair enough, I'm going to just have to go for it here.
So Brooks faces his third ball. He's still sitting on naught at the moment. And that one, well, what was he trying to do with that one? Initially, I thought he was trying to drive it through the offside. It comes off the outside edge down towards the gully area. It's a tall lad, mind you. Gosh, what height is this lad, Henry Brooks? He's a tall figure out there. He needs to rise to score some runs here at the moment for Warwickshire. Goes forward to that LBW, look to the umpire, not out. I'm not too sure, maybe an inside edge first there.
Possibly. Did he get outside the line?
These are serious questions of a batter that looks, well, nowhere near comfortable.
No, he doesn't.
Crane again. Left leg just lifted and in he comes. Bowls. And that one turns away from Henry Brooks. Well, it's either look away now or expect a wicket any minute now, isn't it?
Yeah. Warwickshire.
92 for 8.
Can they get something on the board to bowl at? Not looking like it at the moment.
One ball left to the 25th over. Crane again into Brooks, who again plays a shot. He'll get him a run. He'll get down to the striker's end for the start of the next over. But I'm not too sure what that shot was. Initially, he was looking as if it was just a sort of short arm, just pull a little away on his left-hand side. And in the end, he came, I think, fairly high up off the bat. But he gets a run. It's 93 for 8. Hayne on 33. Henry Brooks on 1. It's we're at the halfway point, Clive. 25 overs have gone at the possible 50.
If they carry on at this rate, they'll end up 186 for 16.
Well, there we are.
Of course, Brooks' single means he remains on strike. He's kept Sam Hayne away from the strike, and Liam Dawson blowing into his hands. He'll be chomping at the bit here. He's heading for the best figures in the competition. He's got a slip in place, and they've got 7 fielders preventing Brooks from taking an easy single, and he's a pity for an LBW, and he's got it. Brooks playing across the line, always looking around as if he can't believe the decision, but he looked very uncomfortable with that, and Kevin's now going to have to make a quick exit because Warwickshire are 93 for 9. And it's desperate stuff, I'm afraid, for Warwickshire, who lost in the quarter-finals in the T20 Blast, having dominated the group stage, and they're facing the same prospect here. 7 wins and 1 very narrow defeat in the group stage, but that doesn't get you into the final. It gets you into the semi-final, at least, in this competition. But Warwickshire are looking likely to stumble at the semi-final stage again. And Kent looking to go at least 1 better than last season. Ollie Hannon-Dolby gets good applause as he comes out, but goodness me. And Dawson will finish now almost certainly with the best figures in the competition so far by any bowler, beating the 6 for 43 that Roman Walker got for Leicestershire against Kent at Beckenham, unless one of these batters bizarrely gets after him big time. He's going to beat those figures.
Well, this is just one of those games where you look on and you think, gosh, really? Semi-final, 2 sides playing particularly well in this competition, and yet Warwickshire just not really shown up. It's well, what's Sam Hayne got to do now? I know Hannon-Dolby can stick around, and I'm sure that's what they're chatting about now, and Sam Hayne saying, look, leave it to me and I'll try and do what I can. But you feel that whatever Sam Hayne can do now, the damage has been done.
Well, he needs to, again, easy sitting up here, he needs to farm the strike now and also make sure he gets, something off every over. He hit a 4 of every over and then keep the strike for a while. That will tick them along, but dear me, we're having a long chat about it, so... And he is an expert, Ollie Hannon-Dolby, in holding up one end while a batter scoring runs at the other end. Certainly in championship cricket. Famously did it with Michael Burgess a couple of times in the championship. So he's capable of doing that. But then he's up against Liam Dawson at the moment. Looks unplayable.
He's got the ball in a bit of string, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's just playing with the batters here. I mean, it's ridiculous figures. 6 for 15. There is a little bit of help out there for him, but he's just exploiting the conditions so well, varying his pace. allowing some balls not to spin, and then when one does, it seems to surprise the batters. And you know, the way Mason Crane's bowling now, you wouldn't. I mean, you would think with these two on at the moment, this innings isn't going to last much longer.
No, it won't. I don't think. But, the lowest score, by the way, that's been defended so far this year was actually by Hampshire, who defended 234.
Is that the lowest score?
That's the lowest score successfully defended against Lancashire at Old Trafford. What's that figure? 164, Warwickshire's lowest score in 50-over cricket. Against Northants, not that long ago, April 2019. Well, I'll tell you what, they've done well if they get past that here. Goodness me, this ball has taken as long as any ball I think I've seen in the competition this season, but of course they don't have to worry about cut-off time unless these two somehow manage to bat through the 50 overs. They've got 3 round the bat now. The wicketkeeper's standing up. There's 3 yellow helmets out there. There's a leg slip, a forward short leg, there's an orthodox slip. Other fielders are going this way and that. They obviously want to stop Ollie Handorby getting an easy single, because that's what he'd be looking for. How many balls left? Well, there's still 5 left, isn't it, this over? So this is a big test for Handorby. And first one, good. Well, the Warwickshire supporters know him well, and he is a trademark, solid forward defensive shot from Handorby. And to be honest, if he can do 4 more of those this over, Warwickshire will be happy enough. Fielders coming in from the square leg boundary. I think Dawson's concluded that Handorby is going to try and hit over the top. He's actually hit it past the short leg. They thought about that. Was a good fielding change, actually, bringing Brad Wheel in, because if he'd stayed where he was, Handorby would have had an easy single there. As it is, it went straight to him at square leg, and he's forced to stay in his crease. And now Dawson's going to come over the wicket. To Handorby. Oh, that was a quicker ball, which Handorby just gets bat on. Gets it past short leg.
Well, there's definitely a bit of turn in this wicket, isn't there?
Of course, Danny Briggs in the Warwickshire side, along with Jake Lintott, but they need some runs on the ball before that really matters. Dawson bowls, and he's bowled it. That's it. That's the end of the innings. Dawson finishes with 7-wicket haul. Brilliant performance from him. And Warwickshire being bowled out by 2 bowlers. 93 all out, and Sam Hain is left stranded on 33. Handorby looks distraught. But Dawson in the end too good for him, and Hampshire will need just 94 to book their place in the final at Trent Bridge on September the 16th. And Warwickshire have got their lowest 50 over total, their 6th lowest List A total of 93 all out. And it's a sorry state really for a team that's played so well in this competition this season. And they brought back the star player. It is not his fault. He's left high and dry. At 33 not out, and the rest of the batting, I'm afraid. Maybe Ed Barnard slightly unfortunate the way he got out, but Liam Dawson getting a huge round of applause now. Keith Barker must be thinking, what happened? He got the first 3 wickets, but now it's Dawson who's getting all the applause for an incredible 7 for 15. Those are some figures.
They are comfortably his best List A figures by some margin. Well, who saw that? Who saw this? Was a little bit of swing for Keith Barker, and he picked up the first 3 wickets. But I think even when Liam Dawson came on initially, you thought, okay, there's a little bit of turn there, not a lot, but just enough. But wow, he's just absolutely scythed through that order. Warwickshire lost their last 5 wickets for just 2 runs, which well, it's not great, is it really? I mean, the shame is, of course, is that you've got a perfectly good batter in Sam Hain. Left not out at the other end, which is an incredible waste. But even so, I don't think. Well, you never see that coming. You can see a bad wicket and think, well, no side's going to get out for 93. But that's just an incredibly good bowling performance. Brad Wheel backing Andy and Holland backing up the 2 main bowlers, and there was no let off. There was no let out from Warwickshire at all.
No, there wasn't. Some poor decisions made by some inexperienced players in some occasions, but they'll be very frustrated that Hain couldn't do what he does and make a big score because he ran out of partners. So it will take something extraordinary to deny Hampshire, their place in the final now, but we get just under half an hour, I think. It's going to take the caterers a little bit by surprise, this.
Do you think we might still go back out here? After 10 minutes?
No. There'll be
definitely
lunch.
a break?
No, yeah. It's a break between innings, half-hour break between innings. So Hampshire will need 94 to win. So we'll take a little bit of a break. If they do come back after 10 minutes, to my surprise, we'll scuttle back. But I don't think they will. I think it's the half-hour break in between innings, whatever. And we'll see you in a bit. This is Clive Eakin at Edgbaston, where Warwickshire have been bowled out for just 93 in their Metrobank One Day Cup semi-final by Hampshire. Bowled out by two bowlers. Former Warwickshire bowler Keith Barker took the first 3 wickets, but then Liam Dawson produced an astonishing spell. The England international spinner taking 7 wickets for 15 runs and causing all the batters no end of problems. Only 2 got to double figures. Ed Barnard, the informed batter in the competition this season, made 26 of 24 balls before he was caught down the leg side of Barker. But frustratingly for Warwickshire, Sam Hain, brought back into the team for this game after his participation in the 100, was left stranded on 33 not out when Warwickshire ran out of wickets. Looks certain that Warwickshire will lose this semi-final now, with Hampshire needing just 94 to win. Well, welcome back to Edgbaston for what looks like it's going to be a rather shorter day than we expected. 50 over cricket. Warwickshire bowled out inside 26 overs in this Metrobank One Day Cup semi-final. This one could be all over before the next one even starts. Leicestershire versus Gloucestershire due to start at 2. So at least you can follow that game on BBC Online if you feel shortchanged by this one. Brilliant from Liam Dawson, let's just say that. 7 for 15 in 6.5 overs. Easily the best figures by any bowler in the competition this season. And I haven't actually been able to look at the records. I would imagine in the One Day Cup in its various guises, it must be pretty high up the list of bowling figures. So a somewhat unlikely job for the Warwickshire fielders now to try and protect 93 all out. As Hampshire, Nick Gubbins and Fletcher Middleton to open. I'm Clive Eakin, Kevin James is here. Looks like you're going to be busy on September the 16th, Kevin.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's never over until it's over, of course, but it doesn't look a great total. But there is a bit of turn there, so I'm sure Jake Lintott and Danny Briggs will have a say in this game of some shape or form. But you're right, it doesn't look great. It's going to be hard for Warwickshire, that's for sure, and Hampshire will have to play pretty badly. I can give you some sort of stats on Hampshire's bowling figures for Liam Dawson. 7 for 15. They are actually the best ever List A bowling figures by a Hampshire bowler, and it beat Peter Sainsbury. I don't know if you remember him, left arm spinner.
Vaguely.
Who took 7 for 30 against Norfolk in 1965.
Wow. Gosh, well, that record's stood a long time. That's quite something from Liam Dawson then. I'll start the first over because I'll let you do the winning runs.
What, next over?
Yeah. Alan Dolby, who has been brilliant in the competition this season. I mean, he's a miracle here. He's bowling to Middleton, who pushes out to the offside, and there's no run. He must be really frustrated, Alan Dolby and Urbana, given how well they've bowled. They would have thought, if we even had 180 on the board, we'd have fancied a go at this, but they've just been given nothing. Sam Hain, 33 not out. That's a real frustration for Warwickshire, that no one could stay with him long enough for him to make a bigger total. But 2 bowlers got all the wickets. You're a 2-man team, Hampshire. Keith Barker got 3 of them, and Liam Dawson the other 7. Hannah Dolby in. Oh, that's shortish and wide and left by Middleton, because Hampshire are in no hurry. The only consideration that might make them want to hurry up a little bit is the possibility of rain. They do have to either obviously get the runs or face a minimum of 20 overs for there to be a result today, and for them not to have to come back tomorrow. It is grey overhead. There was a hint of rain, 1 or 2 umbrellas up. Whether they were just Warwickshire supporters trying to influence the umpires, I don't know, but seems to have settled down now, so it should be okay. Quite dark, and floodlights are just coming on just as I speak. Alan Dolby bowls, that's right into the block all of Middleton, who plays that away onto the leg side, and he's going to get 3. Good running from Middleton, and the first 3 runs are chalked off, just 91 more required.
Well, it didn't seem to mean much in the Warwickshire innings, and it may not mean much in the Hampshire innings here, but we've got 2 players out there who have been in particularly good form in this competition. Fletcher Middleton, just over 400 runs at 45. Nick Gubbins has missed a couple through injury, 375 at 53, and Tom Press coming in at 3, averaging 42 as well. So the top 3 batters for Hampshire having a good tournament.
What did Warwickshire bowl Hampshire out for in the championship match at the end of last season? I mean, there's no Liam Normal in the team. That was 130 odd, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. This next one was left, tight lead by Gubbins, and there's no run. 3 without loss.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm glad Norwell's not playing. Gosh, you certainly would say 90 was too much. It makes I just have a feeling it's going to be a challenge, because Dawson did get a bit of help out of this wicket. Lintott, being a left arm wrist spinner, certainly will. Danny Briggs is not known as a massive turner. We'll get something here though.
2 slips in place. Alan Dolby also at least finished the competition as a top wicket taker. Comes into bowl, and that's a good accurate delivery. It's defended by Gubbins. No run.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work. They'll need a bit of luck here, Warwickshire, that's for sure, even if conditions are, or might still be in their favour with the ball. Still going to be a bit of luck as well as some good bowling.
I suppose the good news for Alan Dolby is that Ian Holland didn't get any of the wickets. It means he's still 7 wickets clear at the top of the wicket-taking charts. In comes Alan Dolby to bowl to Gubbins, and that's turned round to back a square leg for a single. Ed Barnard is 3 runs clear at the top of the run-scoring charts of 616. He won't be caught by the second-place player because he's finished, but Ollie Price could pass him. Of Gloucestershire, he is on 553. Ed Barnard finished, well, I'm assuming will finish on 616. 1 over gone here, 4 without loss. Hampshire well on their way to the target of 94.
So it looks like Ed Barnard is going to be all that right arm seamers from our commentary in.
Well, that's what these two have opened the bowling throughout. Just wonder whether they might get the spinners in a bit earlier than usual.
Get Lintott on, they're saying. Should have opened with him. I suppose that's a bit difficult, especially with.
Well, these two have got wickets, haven't they? So yeah, hoping one of them might do what Keith Barker did.
And the conditions are the same as this morning when Barker got a little bit of swing. Here's Barnard then, runs away from us and bowls. Oh, that's nipped away. That's a good delivery. Just past the outside edge there of Gubbins. Floodlights on, overcast. If anything, it looks a little bit more gloomy than it did when we started the game at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I think it is. The floodlights have come on for the first time. Well, the bad light, I think, Kevin, need to come off.
Well,
let's have a bowl out.
Well, we don't know what the teams have agreed as regards to reserve day, because apparently, according to those rules and guidelines, which Henry from Romsey kindly sent me through, the teams had to agree what to do for the reserve day. I wonder what they agreed. Might have been a bowl out, you're right. Gubbins comes down the wicket, works that up to mid-on.
Well, I hope they agreed in advance, because if they didn't, Warwick would say, no, we can't come back tomorrow, sorry.
We shall wait and see. Lunch was well frequented by the members there.
Yeah, I was warned of that, so I haven't made it yet.
They were straight in there, long queues. Managed to get through just in time. Barnard turns with 2 slips. Need wickets here, Warwickshire, and pretty quick as he bowls. Gubbins pushes that up to mid-off, wants a single, but there isn't. As Danny Briggs is quickly across. I think the 2 players that I was surprised about towards the end, because Danny Briggs is very good at the end of an innings, isn't he, in sort of keeping things moving along. And he was out pretty quick. And Hannon Dolby, who's another man that sort of sticks around. They both went very quickly indeed. In fact, I think they both faced 2 balls each.
Yeah, I think Dawson was just too good for them today.
He got better and better as the spell went on, Dawson, didn't he? Seemed to find the right pace and the right measures of spin. Outside the off stump, Gubbins has a little flick at that one. Not a particularly convincing shot. Ball goes past the bat through to the keeper. He just seemed to size up the conditions and the right paces to bowl and what balls to bowl. Almost every over he improved. And he seemed to get harder and harder to play.
I think possibly Jacob Beth will be disappointed with the manner he got out. What a rush of the blood to the head.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a couple of wickets in there where you think it should have been better. As Gubbins plays that quietly out on the offside. No rush here for Hampshire, of course, but they'll be looking up at the weather and just thinking, well, do we really want the chance of this going into tomorrow?
Well, Southampton in League Cup action tonight. They might want to get back for that.
There's something on now. I certainly won't be rushing. Well, I mean, that's no disrespect. But, I won't be rushing back. But I think there might be on so. There is some football tonight. Round the wicket, Barnard this time to Gubbins. Bowls, it's full. Just swung away a bit from Gubbins, who drives up to mid-off, fielded by Briggs, and we've had 2 overs. Hampshire a 4 without loss, need another 90.
Well, a maiden from Ed Barnard. So Warwickshire on their way. My colleagues, I know, will be delighted to have county maidens in this competition just for Warwickshire. That's Ed Barnard's 7th maiden of the season. Ollie Hand Dolby leads away with 10. And he's about to bowl to Middleton now.
Still tricky times, isn't it? I mean, you know, Hannah Dolby's getting the ball to shape a little bit.
He comes into bowl from the Birmingham end. And that's a little bit wide, and it's played down to third. Not quite out of the middle of the bat, but Middleton will get a run. Problem is, again, if Warwickshire had, well, they doubled their score, they'd really have been up for this.
Yeah, I agree.
But, you know, with 93, it's just, it would need something very bizarre.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a long team meeting if Hampshire don't win this.
Sure. They'll be locked in.
As is, I think Warwickshire might be facing that. Ollie Hallandorby comes into bowl to Gubbins. It's a good accurate delivery. Plays into the onside. No run. 5 without loss. Hampshire, their target just 94 to win this semi-final and book a place in the final against Leicestershire or Gloucestershire at Trent Bridge on Saturday, September the 16th. As Hallandorby comes into bowl. And he comes down the pitch there, Gubbins, and has guided that pass backward point. Jake Linsott stops it on the boundary and only manages to roll it against the ropes. So it's the first boundary of the innings. Frustration for him. Hampshire will be looking to win this competition for the first time since 2018. It was the last time they won it. Warwickshire last won it in 2016. So their wait continues. I don't think Warwickshire got past the group stage until this season, since they won it in 2016. Hell now, again, this is always the way. If a batter comes down the pitch to Hallandorby, whether it's championship or this format, immediately Michael Burgess calls for the helmet and will stand up to the stumps. Nine without loss. In comes Hallandorby to bowl, and that's hit down the ground, just evades the non-striking bat. He didn't quite middle it, and they are able to get through for 1 run as it's cut off there at mid-off by Ethan Brooks. No, Henry Brooks, I think that is. Sorry, Henry Brooks. And it's 10 without loss. 84 required for Hampshire. Not a lot of jeopardy at the moment, but Warwickshire going about their task as professionally as they can. And that one is off a bit of an edge down to third. I noticed the ground staff, actually, a couple of them are sitting on the hover cover, which is usually a slightly ominous sign. Another single there, though, 11 without loss. If Hampshire are 80 without loss, hoses down with rain, you'd think a bit of common sense might be applied, but I suppose you've got to stick to the rules. Unless they face 20 overs, you can't have a result without coming back tomorrow. Hallandorby into boulder. Gubbins beats him and is taken by wicketkeeper Burgess. It's 11 without loss after 3 overs. No great alarms really for Hampshire so far. Remember, after this game, or even before this game is finished, you can follow Leicestershire versus Gloucestershire on BBC Online, and at least part of that match on 5 Live Extra. That one is due to start in just under half an hour's time. So the weather stays clear for that one. Not too far from here, of course. Down the M6 across the M69. So Ed Barnard, who bowled a maiden with his first over, is coming in to bowl to Middleton, who's on 5. Oh, Middleton leaves that. That looked like a tight leave. That nipped back, jagged back, and Barnard has head in hands. That was a risky leave for Middleton, but he gets away with it. It's 11 without loss. I want to at least take a couple of wickets on the way here. That's your over, sorry.
That's all right.
Now you're back.
Takes one hand off the bat, does Middleton, as he drives Barnard up to mid-off. there is no run. So into what, the 4th over here. There's just a little bit of movement, isn't there, for Helen Dolby? Just a little bit for Barnard, but when are the spinners coming? Will they come in the power play?
They don't normally, but I suspect they might today.
Yeah, I know. Can Warwickshire afford to wait that long? Here's Barnard again, runs away from us and bowls. That's nipped back. Good delivery, just hits Middleton a little high on the front leg to really solicit any big shout from Barnard.
I mean, you think by the end of the power play, Hampshire will be almost halfway there, if not more.
The weather is filling in a little bit. I suppose Hampshire will keep an eye on that as well. Don't want too much of a disruption, but of course they can't be too reckless either. Here's Barnard. But you're right, this game could be over before the other one starts. How would you saying that earlier? That's full delivery. Work wide and mid-on. Briggs has already given that one up. That's 4. Nicely struck by Fletcher Middleton and moves on to 9, and it's 15 without loss. Hampshire need another 79.
Warwickshire could face the ignominy of a 10-wicket defeat here if already they're trying to be up for it here. Warwickshire, they are trying to be professional about it, but you do sense that it's a bit hard work trying to keep their spirits up here.
Yeah. Each time the ball goes in a boundary won't help either. As Middleton works that just wide of Briggs, but can't complete a single as Briggs gets around this time quite quickly. That looks like it just nipped back a fraction.
Ed Barnard would be particularly disappointed having such a good tournament not to be able to take it all the way to the final.
This is the thing, isn't it, really? When you've been playing so well and you've got used to playing well,
yeah,
not just as an individual but as a team, when you get to the big games, then it's when you feel you haven't really fulfilled your team's potential, that's the most disappointing. But it isn't over yet, as Middleton off the back foot finds the gap in the covers. Now this is a good contest. The ball's not going to quite win that one, but they come back for 3. And that will take the Hampshire total on to 18 without loss. Nice shot.
Keen chase from Sam Hain, but Hampshire are trotting along very nicely indeed at the moment. 18 without loss. It's becoming danger of becoming a little bit of a habit for Warwickshire or for the Bears in the T20 Blast. They've had a habit of losing quarterfinals. I think they've lost 3 in a row now. They went through a phase of never winning a quarterfinal. They lost 6 in a row, and the only time they got to the finals day was the first year of the competition when there wasn't a quarterfinal. But then it did improve a bit as Helen Dolby comes in to bowl to Middleton. He plays that to backward point. There's no run. I think they won 3 out of 4 quarterfinals after that, but now they've gone on another run. Last 2 years they've topped the group and then been beaten here in a home quarter-final. And also underlines that home advantage does not exist in domestic cricket. It really doesn't. I haven't got the T20 figures to hand, but I know there were more away wins than home wins. This will be, assuming Hampshire win it, it'll mean there have been 31 home wins in the competition this season and 39 away wins. Helen Dolby to bowl. And that's inside edge to square leg by Middleton. Jake Lintop will this time be able to cut that off. And they settle for 2, 20 without loss.
I think it was also a good toss to win, I think, Clive. I think, you know, obviously Warwickshire weren't quite sure what the wicket was going to do. I don't know. I don't think they would have expected it to be spinning a bit. Maybe they would, and maybe they did. But I'm sure Warwickshire would have put Hampshire in.
Well, they would, because that was a modem opera.
Yeah.
What's the word? You know what I mean. And that's how they won games in the competition this year, but not to be this time. That one bit of an inside edge from Middleton, but safely enough onto the leg side, no run. Let's see if I can find those. So T20 Blast, here we go, this season. 59 home wins, 66 away wins. I'm telling you, home advantage does not exist in domestic cricket for whatever reason.
Clearly not.
I don't know what the 100 figures were like. But anyway, in comes Helen Dolby to bowl. It's pushed out to the offside. There's no run. Birmingham Phoenix's women didn't win a single game in the competition. The men did win 2, and at least one of them was here.
It's a pretty bad all-round tournament, isn't it, for Phoenix? That
It was. I mean, the men in the end limited the damage by winning their last game. They leapt from bottom place to 6th. They ended up with 2 wins and 4 defeats. They did have 2 no results, which is a bit unfortunate, but yes, a pretty wretched one for the women, I'm afraid. In comes Hannah Dolby, and that's pushed out the offside. There's no run. But as I mentioned earlier, a good tournament for Warwickshire captain Marie Kelly. She got to the final. So memorable for her, but not, unfortunately, for them. They did lose their captain just before the tournament was due to start. That didn't help. And then Dolby still plugging away, like to add to his wicket tally, no doubt. He's only got 1 slip in place now as he comes into bowler Middleton. That's played to mid-off. There's no run. I'm a bit surprised they've only got 1 slip in place because Warwickshire ain't going to contain Hampshire. Any chance to bowl them out. 20 without loss.
can I plug something?
Please do.
It's down south.
Not your autobiography, is it?
No, no. No, certainly not. This may only interest listeners and viewers down south, so apologies. SonicCricket@gmail.com. Paul Charlwood has emailed me. He says, as my fellow opening batting partner on the Wimborne six-a-side day, that was a benefit sort of day down in Wimborne years back. I wondered whether you could plug our upcoming game. This is Wimborne Cricket Club in Dorset against a Lashings 11 this coming Friday as Barnard comes round the wicket to the left-handed Gubbins, who's forward. Pushes that up towards mid-wicket. Given that Wimborne have just secured the Dorset Premier League title and the weather looks decent, it should make for a decent game. The gates open there at 2:30. The match is scheduled to start at 4 o'clock, so it sounds like a 20-over game. It's only £2 on the gate, and Blowers is on commentary for the first innings, apparently. So, Paul, happy to do that. That's at Wimborne, the Lashings 11, star-studded 11. It's Friday. There we go. Here's Barnard. Comes into Gubbins, full, and Gubbins drives into the ground. It ball bubbles up nicely for Danny Briggs at mid-off. Now, I've got also an email here from Neil Halsworth. Now, Neil Halsworth, I'll mention this once, from Explorer Coffees. And he very kindly sent a box of coffees up to the commentary team at the Aegeus Bowl.
Did he?
Back, yeah. And I'm drinking it at the moment. So, Neil, I was going to message you, but just to say it's very nice. Thank you very much. He says he's streaming the feed at the moment. It's pulled away in the air from Gubbins, but just bounces. I think that might have been off the pad. It looks like. He says whilst he's printing out labels to process a batch of coffee for the team on Portsdown Hill. Happy with the start to today's proceedings. Always good to see King Keith in amongst it. 2 points, he says. I was at the Aegeus for the quarter-final and thought the attendances was really poor. Yeah, it was a bit down, but it was a late call, that game. In fact, I felt it's been pretty weak throughout the whole competition. Okay, well, I must admit, I did think the previous games were pretty similar to the last couple of seasons in this, but maybe I'm wrong, as Gubbins pushes that into the ground. How some counties had sell-out matches, yet those dominating the competition have been pretty thin attendances. Is it poor marketing, social media, or something else? I think, as we're seeing today, Clive, I'm sure you'll agree with this, that depending on which ground you go to, i.e. Isle of Wight, York or whatever, a similar crowd to this feels as though they packed out the ground.
Yes, and I'm also a little bit careful with selling. I know Worcestershire called their home game against Warwickshire a sellout, but that did take into account members, not all of whom attended, of course.
Yeah, Barnard bowls, Gubbins works that up to mid-on, no run.
Look, I think the crowds... there was a concern, obviously, when this competition clashed with the 100, that it might be a complete non-event. But actually, county cricket fans have turned up in reasonable numbers, I think. We did have the one in Hove, the last group game, with nothing actually riding on it, where there was a terrific crowd there.
Yeah. It's just the right day, right weather, right competition, school holidays, blah, blah, blah. Gubbins drives, doesn't really get it where he was aiming to. Goes to Lintott out at mid-wicket. That's a maiden, another maiden there for Ed Barnard. One to add to your tally, Clive. 6 overs, gone, and Hampshire are 20 without loss. Middleton has 14, Gubbins has 6. Just one final point from Neil. Yet again, we're confronted by two teams wearing basically the same kit. There's got to be an argument to have an alternate or a away strip. Oh yeah, let's have some more. When playing limited overs cricket. Otherwise, what's the point? You might as well revert to whites. We can't with a white ball, obviously.
So glad you said that.
Really?
Because I'm the only one, I think. It just strikes me as being utterly bizarre. Everyone else says, it doesn't matter. It just, what's the point of having coloured clothing if you wear the same colours? Anna Dolby bowls, and that's played a mid-off. There's no run. I suppose you don't necessarily want to get into the stage like in football where you have about 5 kits that you try and sell, but it does seem a bit bizarre to me. Anyway, I mean, I appreciate it doesn't actually matter in terms of how the game is played. It's always puzzled me a little bit. So it's 18 counties, so they can't come up with 18 different colours at the start of the competition. Hannah Dolby comes into bowl, and that's hit off the toes by Middleton. It's fielded at mid-wicket by Ethan Brooks. This could be Ethan Brooks' last game for Warwickshire. He could conceivably play in the Championship, but he hasn't yet this season. And he's off to Worcestershire. I'm sure all Warwickshire fans will wish him well.
Yeah.
Good cricketer. I think Warwickshire will feel that they would like to have given him more opportunities. It just hasn't quite worked out. When you've got a big squad, it is difficult. You can't keep everyone happy. Hannah Dolby to bowl. Bit of bounce, he plays it back to Hannah Dolby. There's no run.
This is good bowling at the moment. Hampshire stuck on this score.
Yeah.
But you're right. No, I admire any player that. I mean, he probably doesn't want to leave, I'm sure. But I admire any player that moves because they want to play more cricket. I think that's. You've got to applaud him for that.
I mean, he's only played in this competition this season. He's been in the squad a bit, including in the Championship, and he's done quite a lot of 12th man duties, but just not got on the team apart from this competition. Hasn't really had a bowl in this competition either. Hannah Dolby bowls, and that goes past the outside edge. That was a good delivery. Middleton playing forward to that. Well, Hampshire would be sweating that a bit if they were chasing 200.
Oh, 100%.
But they're chasing 94, so I don't think we'll be too alarmed. 20 without loss.
It's very accurate stuff. I mean, both Barnard and Dolby are bowling accurately, but for me, Hannah Dolby is bowling arrow straight.
Yeah, bowled very well. 4 Championship games left for Warwickshire. Currently 4th, just behind, 8 points behind Hampshire with a game in hand. When do Hampshire... Do they play in the next round of matches?
Yeah. Somerset home.
In comes Hannah Dolby to bowl. That's an ugly shot for Middleton. Driving and missing, but another very good ball from Hannah Dolby. So Warwickshire still haven't given up hope on the Championship. It does look a little bit beyond them, I would suggest. They are, well, they're 56 points behind Surrey. Now they have a game in hand, plus they have Surrey to play. Yeah. So if both those things go really swimmingly for them, they might be able to get the gap down to, well, about 15 points, but then there'd only be 3 games left, so 2 games left. So it takes something pretty remarkable. But they want to finish as high as they can. Of course, it's got a bit of prize money for that, as Hampshire found last season when they were robbed of it, the second place money. Hannah Dolby bowls, and that's hit nicely round his pads, in the air, but perfectly safely by Middleton. He'll get a run, preventing Hannah Dolby to add to his maiden tally. 21 without loss. And Hampshire as well, Kevin, I mean, they won't have given up all hope, will they? They've got a lot to do. They're 46 points behind.
Yeah, I think, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, you've probably got more of the stats in front of you there. They've lost 3 games, Hampshire?
4.
I think there was a feeling, I think even when we lost our second, that's too many. If you want to win the Championship, you've got to be losing 1, maybe 2 at best. And I think they feel and have felt that that's too many to be really serious title contenders.
Neither county will be worrying too much about the bottom 2, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
Warwickshire are 46 points clear.
It's a 2-division now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That first division. It's going to be Jake Lintott. I've got some more stats. I think you were saying about Liam Dawson, maybe this, maybe that. I think we established that it was Hampshire's best list A bowling figures. He put 7 for 15, by the way, since the mid-1960s. Alex Smith has just emailed me, suncricket@gmail.com, with some more stats, actually, which might help you. I don't know, Clive. You may say I don't want any more. It is the best bowling list A figures for Hampshire ever. The joint 23rd best list A bowling figures of all time. So that's quite low down on the list. Here's Lintott, and that's driven. Is it me? I can't remember.
It is you, yeah.
Yeah, that's a drive by Fletcher Middleton out towards backward of point, and that's going to be 4 runs. A little bit of width there for the first ball from Lintott. It's the joint 8th best in matches including a county. Because obviously a lot of list A games are, you know, national counties and even places like Denmark and.
Yeah. I mean, there's an awful lot of list A cricket's being played, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, joint 4th best in matches between 2 counties.
Okay.
Which again just emphasises how good that is. 25 without loss. Lintott floats it up there and driven by Middleton. There is a sweeper out there in the covers now. Middleton moves on to 20. Got the scoreboard moving a bit.
Of course, it'll all change when Lintott takes 8 now, won't it?
Yeah. And one more stat. Joint 3rd best figures for an English-born bowler.
There you go.
So I think that's.
It was pretty impressive stuff for Liam Dawson.
I also got a text earlier that one of my colleagues back at BBC South, his Lintott bowls, was come back a bit of Gubbins, gets an inside edge there. He was trying to work it away on the offside. There's the googly from the left armour, which is slightly different, of course, than the googly from the right armour, but you know what I mean. In terms of, as well as being 7 for 15, if I can find it. Here's so again, it's cut into the ground, and there is no run. 5 of the wickets for no runs in 10 balls. Dawson, either at the end or during the middle.
Was it? Gosh,
that's incredible, isn't it? It all happened so quickly. Oh, he's playing a missing outside the off stump there. So Lintott is making something happen here. Just a modicum of movement off the straight for him, and that's all the encouragement he'll need. Hampshire won't have faced too much of him. Didn't have a 100 contract this year, actually, did he, Lintott?
No. I'll come back to that in a minute because I spoke to him about that.
That's interesting. Having had 2 previous years with the Brave. He's gone aerial over mid-off. Hasn't struck it cleanly, but he struck it well enough to go over mid-off's head. And Middleton ends that over with a boundary, and Hampshire move on to 31 without loss. Yeah,
quite a difficult T20, Jake Lintott, this year after having a couple of really great years in the competition. He did begin to find his mojo in the last couple of games, but he didn't get that 100 contract, which must be disappointing. But I was quite refreshed when I interviewed him after the victory against Sussex. And I asked him about that. I said, how you find this competition? You must be disappointed not to be 100, because you wouldn't be that surprised if a player got a bit sulky about not being in the high-profile, highly paid competition. But he was saying how much he enjoyed this competition this year and how he found it a really enjoyable, valuable experience. I don't think he's enjoying it now quite so much, but he has enjoyed the competition. So just having a look, Warwickshire lost their last 6 wickets for 16 runs. Hannon Dorby into bowl, that's hit into the ground, and there is no run. Or better still, they lost. Sorry, they got a single there. What am I talking about? I was just looking at these stats. They've lost their last 5 wickets for 2.
Yes, that's right.
Which is not great.
Horrendous.
A season they had a particularly bad season in the Championship. There were 2 matches in which they lost 5 wickets for 1 run at some point. Yeah. All this with a senior batter at the non-striker's end for much of it. Hannon Dorby comes into bowl, and that's it in the air, but past backward point. That'll be 4 runs. And Hampshire are motoring their way towards the one-day cup final.
Well, Middleton, out of the 2 batters in the middle there, looks like the one that doesn't really want the score to be sticking at any point, looking to try and attack at any opportunity. A couple of risky shots there, but he is getting Hampshire moving forward. Just 58 runs needed now.
Yeah. Warwickshire trying hard not to be going through the motions, but it is difficult. Hannon Dorby bowls to Middleton. It's a good accurate delivery. Even his keepy-uppy isn't quite working there, Hannon Dorby. He's normally very good at that, but that one, the ball spilled away from his boot. There's no run, 36 without loss.
Yeah, it'll be a horrible feeling. They still would have walked out there with, even with Hampshire needing only 94, feeling they still have a chance. They'll still feel like that, but what you don't want is a side to get away to this point, like Hampshire have done, 36 without loss. I always thought that if they got to 30, 40, maybe even 50 without loss or one, then Warwickshire will find it very difficult to play at a really high intensity, and we're sort of getting to that point.
Right arm over, he comes into ball. It's played in through the covers. It's a chase on for Jacob Bethel. He won't get there despite his best efforts. It's 4 runs for Middleton. Looks as if he has got a football match he fancies going to this evening. 40 without loss.
Well, I'm told Saints aren't playing tonight because they're already out the League Cup. I just got a text earlier about that.
Oh yeah, didn't they lose on a penalty shootout?
Gillingham. I said Gillingham's in Dorset.
Get
that right. It would have been interesting if they had been playing Gillingham.
In comes Alan Dolby. A very good competition for him is rather petering out now as he comes into bowl to Middleton, who just opens the face of the bat, plays it quite deliberately down to third for a single. And that's 41 without loss, with the target being just 94. I'm looking forward to my end of day interview.
Who are you going to speak to?
I imagine Mark Roberts, he usually comes to the wicket. Either him or Will Rhodes, I imagine, will come to the wicket. To be fair, they always do.
That's a tough one. Wait, as I say, it's not over yet.
Yeah. In comes Hannah Dolby to bowl. That's short, it's pulled, and it's well fielded. Inside the circle by Danny Briggs. So there's no runs there for Gubbins, but 41 without loss. And just 53 required by Hampshire.
10 runs off that over. We were talking, our club was talking about the kits being very similar in blue nature. Peter Chapman, sunandcricket@gmail.com, who's in Penzance, says surely the yellow pads, helmets make the kit issue irrelevant. Well, there's certainly one. It certainly makes it look as though one side is slightly different than the other, but that's all. The pads and the helmet. Otherwise, they could be the same side. So Jake Lintott, whose first over went for 10, so that's 2 overs that have gone for 10 apiece. Not ideal when you're trying to defend 93. Here's Lintott, left arm wrist spin, driven by Middleton out into the deep cover area, and he moves on to 34. Well, any sort of nerves that Hampshire fans might have had, Fletcher Middleton, the way he's playing, he's certainly playing positively here and making sure that Hampshire at least keep the scoreboard moving. Brings Gubbins back on strike. He's 8. That's playing the second fiddle at the moment as Lintott bowls. Oh, it's short. Oh, it's way down the leg side. That's a wide. That's a good take actually in the end by Burgess. It kept low and was well wide of leg stump. It didn't quite come out of the hand as it should have done. 43 without loss now the total. Lintott over the wicket bowls. That's better. Just turns a bit. Gubbins plays it with the spin out on the offside. Fielded by Bethel. Crowd, nothing for them to get stuck into here, is there?
No, that's the only disappointment, of course. Not getting their full day's cricket they'd have liked.
That's a low full toss outside off stump this time, driven up to wide mid off, and that'll be a single to Gubbins. Didn't quite time that one. Moves on to 9, 44 without loss. Hampshire need another 50 runs here to get themselves into the final, and that will be, if they do, 2019 was their last appearance in the one-day cup final. Won it the year before. Oh, outside the off stump, cut away. One bounced to backward a point. He was a bit away from that ball was Fletcher Middleton. As an effort to try and hit it hard, his body weight actually was going the other way, so he wasn't complete control of that. Fortunately for him, it bounced short. Lintott's not quite got in the groove here yet, has he? Comes in again and bowls, and that's a better ball in the air, but it's safe. Bit of a slap there from Fletcher Middleton. There is a big gap between backward a point and extra cover. Fortunately for Middleton, it went in between the two. I'm sure that's exactly where he was aiming, but just heart-stopping moment, briefly. 45 without loss.
Yeah, Warwickshire had to pick up a couple of wickets.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Need them quick, don't they? Just I don't know, just a bit of hope. Bit of hope. Almost halfway through to their victory target. Oh, now there's a big shout for an LBW's been given, Gubbins, on the front foot. The only doubt there is whether he got outside off stump, but the ball was coming back, and there is the first wicket. Gubbins goes for a 9.
Terrific reaction from the Warwickshire supporters. Big cheers and chants of "you bears." But a wicket for Lintop, that'll please him. He's got something there. But the opening pair have done a decent enough job. They've got Hampshire well on the way.
Just watching that on the replay, I think Gubbins actually did sort of go further forward after the ball had hit his pad, but it's a close call. Probably the right one. That ball was straightening on him. And of course that's the mystery spin that you want as a bowler of that type. Batter's not quite sure which way that's turning off the pitch, and of course that, from a spinning point of view, always gives you an advantage. So there's the first one.
Lintop's 10th wicket in the competition this season.
Out comes Tom Prest for Hampshire, who already has 100 in this year's competition. And having a decent competition as well. 343 runs at 42 apiece. But if Lintop gets in a groove, it's going to be quite difficult. It's going to be hard work.
I think they're going to be okay, Kevin, to be honest. I mean, Middleton's made it look a lot easier than Gubbins did, to be fair. 9 off 25 balls, Gubbins. Middleton 35 for the runner ball. Danny Briggs. His first ball. Can he do the job of Liam Dawson? First one is hit into the ground and caught by Ethan Brooks for no run. Round the wicket he comes. Gives that a bit of air. Middleton moves his feet nicely and drives it out to mid-off, but straight to a fielder, so he'll get no run there. He's in again, Briggs is getting on with it here, Briggs, and that's pushed to backward point for no run again by Middleton. One slip in place. And Briggs is in again. Quick little ball that bounced a bit as well, but it's guided away by Middleton into the deep for a single. 46 for 1, Middleton on to 36. I don't think, however well he bats, he's going to get the Player of the Match award. I think that's been snaffled already. Unless one of the spinners gets a ridiculous number of wickets now. Round the wicket comes Briggs, and that's pushed into the offside for a single. Remember, it was Gladstone Small used to always moan that bowlers never got Player of the Match in one-day cricket. I remember interviewing him about looking back at a match where he took 4 wickets. How come he didn't get man of the match? He said, oh, some batter must have made a quick 30 or something. In comes Briggs round the wicket, and it's on the path as a strangled appeal. The one time that Gladstone Small did get a man of the match, he was convinced it was because of his batting, because Warwickshire needed 6 off the last 2 balls to win, and he hit the penultimate ball for 6 to win the game. But in fact, the press had already decided that if Warwickshire won, he was going to get Player of the Match because of his bowling performance, but didn't stop him chuntering again about how you only get Player of the Match for. But did you get many man of the matches in one-day cricket?
Not in a proper game. I did in a minor tournament, but no, I didn't. But you're right. It was always the batters that got. It was always, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Always, yeah. I mean, several times I've picked up 3 important wickets or something and didn't go for many runs, but because somebody got 60 not out on a run chase, that was it. They got it. You're right. It's always like that. I remember doing a spoof when David Gow was playing for us for a couple of years.
I was going to do a report in 12 seconds' time. I'll get you in. Lintott in. Sorry, Kevin. That's whipped away into the offside for no run. For 1 run. This is Clive Eakin at Edgbaston, where Warwickshire are facing an almost certain defeat in their one-day cup semi-final after being bowled out for just 93 by Hampshire. Hampshire are 48 for 1 in the run chase. Jake Lintott has just got the first wicket, but no one able to emulate the performance so far of Liam Dawson. The England international spinner produced a stunning performance to take 7 for 15. Hampshire's best ever figures in a List A cricket match. This after Keith Barker, the former Warwickshire batsman, had taken 3 earlier. Sam Hain finished stranded on 33 not out. Only Ed Barnard with 26 made any sort of impression other than that, with Warwickshire losing their last 5 wickets for just 2 runs. They're doing their best to keep the game going, but Hampshire are totally in control on 49 for 1. I'm going to bring Kevin in now for a while.
So Lintott it is. Halfway through his 3rd over here, 1 for 16. Getting a little bit of turn there, but that's full. Driven up to mid-on by Tom Prest, who's on 2. So the 1 wicket, Nick Gubbins, LBW, to the man bowling now for 9. So Warwickshire need plenty of quick wickets here. Danny Briggs on at the far end as well, so the 2 spinners are operating. That's turned sharply, but that's going way down leg side. That's a very, very hopeful appeal. I know Warwickshire need wickets, and I know they'll probably appeal for everything, but that's jagged back quite sharply and going way past the leg stump. So Hampshire, I always felt this was going to be a little bit more tricky than it would otherwise suggest, but Lintott has got to bowl every ball on the money. Hello, Kevin Howells.
And very good afternoon to you. It's has a contest been a tad disappointing so far, Kevin?
So far, but I still think there's a bit of life left in this yet. Prest pushes forward, it's half stopped in the covers, but they'll pick up a single. I still think Lintott is going to be a bit of a handful here. It's getting the ball to turn a bit both ways, and when you're bowling wrist spin like that, unless you can actually pick it out of the hand, and I don't think they'll pick Lintott, even though Lintott had a very brief spell with Hampshire in T20 cricket 2 or 3 years back. I don't think they'll be really picking him. I must admit, I know I'm a million miles away, but I can't pick him. 50 for 1, but then I couldn't pick any leg spinner that I batted against anyway, from 20 yards, let alone from 100. So 50 for 1, and we've had 12 overs. 44 needed, but it has been one-sided. When you just look at the scoreboard, it's been one-sided.
Briggs bowls,
Oh, no.
it chipped in the air, falls just short of the man at mid-off the bat of Prest. Sits there on 3. Very nearly looped up. That could have been 2 down, but it remains 50 for 1.
Is that Helen Dolby there?
Yes, it
He
is.
looked like he wasn't sure if that ball was carrying or not. He hung back.
Briggs again to Prest, who pushes that into the offside. They're running around as if they're trying to maintain some enthusiasm, some engagement in the game here at Warwickshire, but they know that they perform so badly with a ball up against some good bowling, mind you. Next ball bowled, and Prest plays that deep, but turns it square on the leg side for a single. Gloucestershire 9 for no wicket there in the 2nd over. Who did what there? Leicestershire won the toss. They decided to have a bowl first in the other semi-final, which started at 2 o'clock. As Briggs bowls, this one is up in the air, just out of the reach of the man at extra cover. Well, the fielder comes up off the boundary from the Holly stand away to our right-hand side, although the rope is some way in there. It's another 1 to the total, so Middleton moves to 38. Takes Hampshire up to 52 for 1. On their way, seemingly, from the West Midlands to the East Midlands in this competition to the One-Day Cup final at Trent Bridge next month. Played square by Prest. He was involved early on. I mean, the talk of the moment, I remember he put that catch down to the Rob Yates very, very early on. And you actually passed comment on this quite quickly afterwards. Meantime, Briggs around the wicket in bowls and pushed into the offside, and you're there, no run. And also completion of the over, 53 for 1. That's 13 overs gone. Chasing not very many here, I'm afraid. It's probably all too late and taking any wickets here, but Warwickshire 93 all out after 25.5 overs. But that drop catch, just for those 10, 20, 25 seconds, straight away you think, oh, it could be a tricky day this for Hampshire. Oh God, if they're going to be dropping catches, it was just, I always think all slip catches actually are quite difficult, but by this standard, that should have been taken quite clearly.
Lintott comes in. There's a reverse sweep there from Tom Prest. That's a lovely shot. Let's go for 4. That might be one way of playing Lintott. Prest moves on to 9, 57 for 1, 37 needed.
And then next ball, of course, Yates just skies one. Normally what happens after a little incident like that is that the batter strikes the ball to the boundary, is what usually happens, not strikes it high up in the air and giving. Keith Barker's bowling, though. It was nice seeing Keith bowl like that again, wasn't it? I mean, you'll have seen him struggle a bit this season by his standards, so nice to see that today from Keith.
Yeah, he was good. He's been overshadowed, really. It's a quick drive up to mid-off. The throw will come in at the bowler's end. Throw misses the stumps, but Prest I think probably would have been home, 58 for 1. Yeah, he's been he bowled a very tidy spell, didn't he, really? Got the ball to swing a little bit early on, and it's been completely overshadowed by Liam Dawson. 3 for 28 from 7 overs, Keith Barker, and that's pretty much his season's best figures in this competition. He got 3 for 20 odd against Middlesex, or Essex. Pretty similar figures. Here's Lintott then, bowls to Middleton this time, a little too short this time, allows Middleton to cut that away on the offside. It's interesting when Lintott, as soon as the ball leaves his hand and you can see it's in the right areas, you think, oh, something might happen. But the minute it leaves his hand and you know it's nowhere near the right area, you pretty much know there's going to be at least a run of some sort. So he's got to bowl accurately here. He's getting something out of this pitch. Bowls, it's too full, that one, so it's driven out on the offside. Preston moves on to 11. 60 for 134 needed.
I suppose a fairly similar thing happened at Bristol in the eliminator quarter-final, or whatever you want to call it, last week with Lancashire. You know, Lancashire got some very decent batters, a little bit, you know, lacking experience in some ways, of course, but
that's again too full and driven by Middleton up towards deep mid-off. 61 for 1.
On that occasion it was Payne and Price who were the bowlers. I mean, David Payne, who himself, of course, had been involved with the 100 and everything, and it seemed to cause a bit of scrambled thinking in the batters' minds.
A little bit too short. That's not quite in the right areas. That's going very quickly out towards the boundary. There's a fielder out there. They'll pick up 2 this time, and Press moves on to 13. They're very quickly onto anything not in the right area from Lintott. 63 for 1.
I mean, I need to point out that Lancashire still made 177. They didn't make 90. But you know, it had that same sort of feeling about it, that not that they were flat and not that they weren't applying themselves properly, but you know, the bowling had been so good right at the top. It sort of set a tone, set an atmosphere that from which Lancashire really couldn't wrestle things back. Now, what could play a part still here, and I hate to mention this, is the fact that there's threat of rain around. We don't really need any delays like that. Middleton's on 40. Briggs comes around the wicket to him and tries to create a bit of space around that leg stump to punch the ball away, and he does, but only as far as Hannon Dalby. It's a wide mid-off. So looking for miracles here, the Warwickshire, and Briggs against his former team in the bowls. That's more around the off stump. And Middleton here trying to use the feet and trying to create a bit of space, bit of room for himself to free the arms a little to try and find a gap. It's fairly crowded there on the offside. Try and get it through. He's gone a little straighter this time, and it's going to be 4 runs on the onside of straight, back down the ground. 4 runs towards the Birmingham City end, and 4 more towards this very low target has been set of 94 runs for Hampshire to book themselves another appearance on a finals day as such.
Another finals day appearance. Kev.
Oh, come on now. Middleton's on 44. Briggs bowls to him now, and this again has gone straight and high. This could clear for 6. No, ball's actually just a few yards short of the boundary, but again it's up there towards long on. It's another 4. And I don't know if that is because I'm starting to get the impression there might be just a little bit of mizzle around. Whether Middleton's thinking, I don't want to be going back in here and putting my feet up. But that's struck beautifully. He's on to 48. 71 for 1. 2 balls left to the 15th. Back with Kevin in a moment after this next delivery. Briggs in bowls and no runs. Are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say it's actually top batting. I thought that was the end of the over. I'll come back. At the end of the over, 1 more ball, and I'll tell you why.
48 not out Middleton, 71 for 1, 1 ball left to the 15th here. Hampshire on their way to a final, and it's driven straight to the fielder Hannon Dalby. That does complete the over, and that's 15 overs gone. 71 for 1, needing only 94 to win.
It was a good field place at the start of that over by having those 2 guys short in on the offside, because we've almost seen a catch in that area. Briggs is not a massive turner of the ball, but he is just about getting it off the straight, so there is a little bit of there is a way that the batters have to be very careful. But the 2 balls that he's bowled full on leg stump have both been hit over the top by Middleton, so he's picked exactly the right 2 balls in that over to hit the ball over the top. I mean, that's really good batting. They're not slogs, they're proper cricket shots, because that shot through extra cover now and around that area has been cut off. Here's Lintott, 71 for 1 then. The game's closing up here, reaching its conclusion, and there's a nice pleasant drive from Tom Prest. Takes him up to 15, and it's sorry, up to 14. 72 for 1, and 22 runs are needed. And well, even a massive batting collapse from here, I don't think would prevent.
What was that? What was that last? Was it 5 for only 2 runs though at the end of that?
Yeah, that's the last 5 for 2. And somebody texted me earlier, that's a cut away by Fletcher Middleton. My word, he's playing well out here. Just completely taken any problems that may occur in this innings completely out of the equation. He's on 49, and that's come off
52, I reckon.
52 balls. I mean, that's a terrific knock. I know he's had a couple of iffy shots, but even so. Down the wicket comes Prest. This might be out caught mid-on. No, not quite. Just bounces in front of the field at mid-on. Rob Yates just thought for a moment that that was going to carry to him. But Hampshire are certainly not hanging around here. If they think it's going to rain in the next 20 minutes, they're certainly playing like it might do. But even so, Middleton is emphasising just how he's grown in this innings, in this season, I should say, as Prest plays that calmly out towards backward a point. 76 for 1 it is now, 18 runs needed, and I'm sure Warwickshire now, if they didn't believe it before, believe now that the game is just about up. Even they surely can't believe they're going to take 9 wickets in the space of 18 runs, but you never know. Lintott, I'm not sure Lintot's bowling quite well enough. Just don't think he's quite getting enough balls in the right areas. That goes out to extra cover. And
How difficult though when you know you've such a low target to defend to get it right, you know. And
there's massive pressure when you've seen one spinner take 7 for 15.
Yeah,
and
there's
turn
that
it.
as well, definitely.
The spinners then coming on afterwards know that the team is looking for them to win them the game. That's a drive up to mid-on by Middleton, no run. Remains on 49, end of Lintott's over. But that's the thing. And, you know, you sometimes overlook that both Danny Briggs and Lintott at the break, they know that the team would have been looking at them. And they've got 1 wicket to show for it so far between them.
Well, as long as they were looking back at the batters,
Well,
and saying, "Yeah, all right."
yeah. But I mean, that's the way it would have been viewed. I mean, of course, everybody knows that the batters have done a bad job. Of course, they have.
Yeah.
Hayne apart, of course. Left high and dry.
What a figure he looked out there, thinking, "What on earth is going on?"
Oh, I think actually before he even had a chance.
Okay, Press on 17 and Briggs very quickly. I mean, the Warwickshire want to get through this as well by the looks of it. That sort of leading edge to the offside, no run off Prest.
The wickets were falling so quickly that I'm sure Hayne was thinking, right, I'm probably going to have to give it a thrash now. But he never had a chance.
Correct. Prest again facing. This has gone straight back down the ground over the bowler's head. I don't think it... Well, actually, it is going to have the legs to get to the boundary. I thought he was maybe going to plug a little. But it doesn't. It's 4 more runs. So Prest is on 21. He's also playing some good shots and striking the ball well. To me, he's just got a little bit more of a looser sort of cavalier way about it today, whereas Middleton looks solid. I mean, you said made a couple of shots maybe, but he otherwise looks really solid. Presses on to 21, and that's carved away behind square on the offside. That should just be the single, and it is. So he moves to 22 and takes 81 for 1, the score in the 17th over.
Hanging around, are they?
Well, exactly. I did say to Clive, I said, you must go and get yourself a bit of food there, my friend, and I'm going to have to be going away again quite quickly. Next ball, and into the offside, and no run.
I think
so
Danny...
sorry, I'm just being daft. Just for the sake of Clive, just so he doesn't get indigestion, just slow down out there a little bit, will you? Okay. Driven. And that brings up the 50. What a 50 that is for Middleton. Terrific knock. He may not, has 56 balls, by the way, 7 fours within that knock there from Middleton. He may not have a big target here, Kevin, to chase down. But gosh, he's done it in an exemplary way. It really has been terrific.
Well, it's the way he's countered. It's been absolutely terrific, and picked the right balls to do so.
22 Press, and that's not too much width on it, but he still cut it away, and I think it's got it. No, good stop actually. Very good piece of fielding. Left arm throw. Not too sure who that is out there.
Bethel.
This Bethel, Jacob Bethel, with a very fine stop. Throw yourself over the ball. Dive on it, and he did, and he put a stop to it. 84 for 1. Milton on 50. Press 24. 17 overs gone. But they only require 10 more to win, and I can just hear the cutlery rattling very quickly behind us, which sort of signals as well that this has not got long left to roll.
Yeah, he's quickly downing that dinner.
Yeah, can't be good for him.
No. Danny Briggs will be frustrated on 2 counts. One is that he knows that he's not the biggest turner of the ball. You know, when him and Liam Dawson were both bowling in tandem at Hampshire, as Lintop bowls, and there's a drive through extra cover. Well, there's more runs here. Will it go for 4? Not quite. But 2 more runs takes Middleton on to 52. So he's not quite getting as much out of the pitch as he probably thinks he would like, but he's been around long enough to know that. But the most difficult thing for him is, having cut that area off at short extra cover with 2 fielders there, he then can't have mid-on and mid-off back because it's such a low score. So he's been hit over the top, but he wants one of those back, but he can't. So it's very frustrating for him. That's too short, and again, it's cut away by Middleton. 87 for 1 and only 7 runs are here. I mean, honestly, it feels like I've only just turned up here today and now the game's going to be over. I mean, you come into a semi-final, no matter what competition it is, whether it's a full house, not such a full house, but it's a semi-final, you come here ready to go, perhaps the heart pumping a bit more, and I really believe I've hardly been here.
I'm disappointed for the supporters, very disappointed.
There's a better, it's driven to extra cover, well fielded, no run.
Well, they've been absolutely thumped, haven't they?
They are. Really, it's a shame, and I'm afraid it was like that in the T20 quarter-final here, Hampshire, Warwickshire. Last year at Hampshire, the game was all over in no time. Yeah. And, well, I'm sure tables will turn, but just enjoy it while it's lasting. As that's turned away into the gap on the leg side. Press moves on to 25, and it's 88 for 1. And just, I can't believe, at 20 minutes past 2, I'm saying Hampshire only needs 6 runs to win.
No, I know.
Normally I'll be saying, well, we'll see you in half an hour. We're going off for lunch.
Yeah, it should be about this time, actually. We should still be at the end of the first innings. You're right.
It's ridiculous. That's driven out on the offside. There'll be 1. I don't think there'll be any more than that. There isn't. Press moves on to 54, 89 for 1.
For Sports Extra listeners, this game may be coming towards quite a quick conclusion. We will be shooting off to Leicester once it's completed this game, so I better go and get all that in place.
Should we hand you for name? Because we did that. We forgot last time.
You did.
Yeah, apologies.
Okay. One job.
Forgettable name, really.
One job I gave you.
Who are you again? Another single out on the leg side. Kevin Howes it is. So I'm going to write that down. Hand to Kevin Howes on 5 Sports Extra at the end of the game. Now, you would think with 5 runs to win, I shouldn't forget that in such a short space of time. I'm going to ask Clive to help me on that because he can hear me. So we've got a hand to Kevin Howes on 5 Sports Extra
right
at the end. Remember.
We'll try and remember that. I usually forget.
So do I.
You might as well carry on, Kevin. I'll take it back when they're 9 wickets down.
When? Next year? So, Fletcher Middleton, 54. Tom Preston, 25. The one man out, Nick Gubbins, LBW to Lintop for 9. That was 45 for 1 in the 11th. Here we are, just about to start the 19th. And Danny Briggs hasn't quite worked out for him at that far end. He's trying to have a halfway house here with mid-on, literally halfway back. But that's no man's land, really.
Don't know how much long the other semi-final's going to go on for. Gloucestershire 23 for 2 in the 5th over against Leicestershire.
Well, here's Briggs round the wicket to Middleton, who's driving off the back foot. That's stopped by one of those 2 men in the short extra cover. That's Ethan Brooks. So Danny Briggs has bowled 4 overs, none for 21. And Lintop has bowled 6 overs, 1 for 37. Both would be disappointed with those figures here. Down the wicket comes Middleton, hits it into the ground, and that's fielded extra cover. Now, actually, what Danny Briggs has done, has actually taken that shot down the ground out, actually, for now. As Middleton looks like he's going to try and hit more towards the offside. Although he goes in the air, one bounce just short of Oliver Hannon-Dolby at mid-off. He's obviously trying to go aerial over mid-off now, but didn't quite hit that properly. The score remains on 89 for 1. One shot could win it. As Briggs bowls again, just pushed out into the covers. They're good fielding positions, those two. They've got that area completely covered.
Well, at least Warwickshire are making Hampshire work for these runs.
A bit hard. Briggs again. Oh, outside the off stump. Opened the face of the bat too much there. It's probably the first time Danny Briggs has got the ball past the bat.
Can I just say Gloucestershire now 23 for 3.
Oh, God, another one over early. God, if you settled in for the day thinking, oh, there's cricket from 11 till 10, you'll be very disappointed. There's driven out towards extra cover, or potentially disappointed. Better over from Danny Briggs. There's a good field out there, but it's a little bit too late for that. 5 needed, 89 for 1.
Yeah. It's a tough day for Warwickshire. They'll have to put it behind them, and most of these players will be involved in the county championship, the remaining 4 games. They're going to probably finish the season trophyless unless they have an incredible finish to the championship.
Here's Lintott then from our commentary in the pavilion end, then over the wicket, bowls down the wicket, down the ground, and is that 6? I think that's the end of the game, and it is. Tom Prest ends the game with a 6. A completely dominant performance here from Hampshire. Prest will finish 31 not out, Fletcher Middleton 54 not out, and Hampshire are into the One Day Cup final.
Yes, well done to Hampshire, and Middleton finishes 54 not, as you say. Good batting from him. Warwickshire just knew they didn't have enough runs, handshakes all around. But a tough one that for Warwickshire. They just in the end didn't compete. Just collapsed in the. I mean, they struggled at the top part of the innings, but really it was the collapse in the second half of the innings that ruled any possible defence out. And so after lost in the quarter-final of the T20 Blast, they now lose in the semi-final of the One Day Cup. That's going to be a little bit hard to take for Warwickshire. Plenty of positives in this competition. Played well in the group stages, but unfortunately fell badly short in the semi-finals. So there we are. That's victory for Hampshire. Well done to them. That's with one game still in progress on BBC 5 Live Extra. We hand now to Kevin House. I remembered, just about.
It's one thing that's gone right for Warwickshire.
So if you're listening online, a reminder that you can now get the Leicestershire versus Gloucestershire match online in the second semi-final. I know that Hampshire will watch that with interest because that will decide who they play in the final at Trent Bridge. Well, Kevin, thank you very much indeed. Fleeting visit, but thank you. And we've enjoyed it, and enjoyed the competition again, albeit the watch have finished short. So thank you very much indeed for everyone for listening. As ever, keep saying it, we can't do this without you. Don't forget all the championship matches will, of course, be live on BBC Online as well. From Kevin James, Kevin Howells, Phil Britt, and myself, Clive Eakin, will say congratulations to Hampshire on reaching the One Day Cup final, and a very good afternoon.